Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive. It's Thursday, 24th of August. Still hot. 95 here in Bucolic, 98 downtown. Humidity right now, at least here in Watertown, 54%. So at least it's a moist heat. That's the thing to look forward to. I need to start off with a story that has not been widely reported. I think this is incredibly important, and so we'll call this breaking news. The CDC has issued a warning telling people not to kiss small turtles. They say.
It goes my weekend plans.
Yeah, I know. Now, what am I going to do with all of my Saturday? Saying the affectionate gesture could lead to salmonella. That's right. 26 individuals have been infected with disease outbreaks linked to small turtles in 11 states, including, unbelievably, ladies and gentlemen, now you haven't heard this. Mac Morey, where has this been in your newscast? 6 patients in Tennessee and 1 patient in Kentucky. Do not, they say, the Centers for Disease Control, do not kiss your small turtle.
Never a warning I thought I was going to hear.
Dang it.
I know.
Is that what people do with their spare time? They just kiss turtles?
I guess. I don't know. Do not kiss, as long as we got here, do not kiss or snuggle your turtle, and do not eat or drink around it. This can spread salmonella germs to your mouth and make you sick.
Wow. All right.
Turtles with shells less than 4 inches long are known as the source of the illness.
So if you get a big turtle, you kiss away, is what they're saying.
I guess. It also says that if you're under the age of 5 or 65 years or older, or if you have a weak immune system, you should not have a turtle.
All right. Well, I'll have to find something else to do this weekend.
We bring you all of the latest turtle news here on the drive. So make sure. Well, 6 cases out of Tennessee. You think we would have heard about that?
Yeah. I'll just have to lick my toad instead of kiss my turtle.
No, don't do that either.
No.
Anyway. No, of course, our real story, I think, is a look back at the debate last night, and we're going to open up the phone lines right away at 615-737 and take your sense of what happened in the debate. Who was the winner? Who was the loser? Who were the winners and who were the losers? 615-737-9986. I have to say, it was a much better debate than I thought it was going to be. And I know if you saw it, you probably thought, wow, this is rather spicy and sassy. It could have been very dull, but it turned out to be, at times people really got into it. Like, this exchange between Nikki Haley and Ramaswamy.
Once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
First of all, Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis,
Nikki, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
I'm not on
but the fact of the matter, Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician. There you have it.
Your watch, so the reality is, America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have shows in the pointless wars we've gotten into. I have to address that. So our relationship with Israel will never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not a client relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel
that is the
needs
answer.
America. America needs Israel.
Okay,
They
Governor
are the
DeSantis.
And there you go. I mean, just a little sense of how it went last night. 615-737-9986. You say, well, Wilson, what do you think? I want to hold my opinion. I mean, I have my opinion. It's a strong one. I think it may be one with which a lot of people disagree, but I'll share it after I hear from you. I want to hear from you first. So if you saw the debate or if you saw the highlights, who do you think was the winner? Who would you think was the loser? We'll start with Mike in Murfreesboro. Mike, what do you think? You're on with Brian on the drive. Who won that debate and who was the big loser?
Hey, Brian, this is Mike. I think actually Nikki Haley actually won that debate. She came across knowing what she's talking about, and additionally, she will appeal to the independents that Trump cannot appeal to and will not win. And VJ as well, he came across to me as the biggest loser. He came across as a wannabe Trump, a big mouth kid that doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
All right, I will say that we're going to talk about the thing that the elephant that was, as they said last night, was not in the room. We'll talk about Trump, but this is everybody wanted to know exactly what these guys were going to bring to the table, and who might make a good vice presidential running. I don't see any of these people actually at this point getting the nomination the way things stand, but it is interesting to look at the at the talent on the stage. So if you have a strong feeling about this, 615-737-9986. Dennis in Belvedere. Dennis, you're on with Brian on the drive. So, Dennis, tell me, who do you think won the debate last night and who lost it?
Okay, I totally agree with your last caller. I mean, I don't think you could become a billionaire and not know what you're talking about. So I would say Trump won the debate not being there. Vivek got second.
By the way, I agree
DeSantis
with you on that.
got third. DeSantis got third. He showed his own. I would definitely vote for DeSantis before this idiot we got now. But all the rest, Christie, Asa Hutchins, all them guys, they might as well just save their money right now. I mean, they might just save their money. And I think Nikki Haley was a rhino. I think she's ridiculous because I don't support the Ukraine war. I support our soldiers, but I don't support the money that we've been wasted. I was kind of disappointed with Tim Scott. I like him. And I just don't think he brought. I don't think he brought what he needed to bring for that. And I mean, I just think this war is ridiculous. What we're doing, and we're slaughtering the Ukrainian people over there, and it's sad. It's sad, So I think Trump won it.
Yeah, listen. There's little doubt that Trump, that nobody on that stage is likely to be the Republican nominee. It seems to me. I mean, if it is, there's going to have to be some thing on the horizon that happens that you and I that we can't foresee or we can't predict, and who knows? I mean, he's like 40 points ahead, 42 points ahead in some of the polls that I've seen. That no lead like that becomes almost insurmountable, although it's very early. Listen, a lot of phone lines open, and I really do want to know what you think. 615-737-9986. I guess until we get some more calls, I'll tell you exactly what I think about it. And you're going to be a little surprised, and you're going to be a little hacked off, I think. But I look at it as who had the best debate performance and who left that debate stage in better shape than when they walked in. I mean, that's to me the goal of the debate. You got to debate, and you come in and people have some expectation or some thought about you. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. But where do you end up? Do you end up, with people looking at you in a way that perhaps they hadn't looked at you before, or did you come out maybe not in as high esteem as they had before? And in that regard, I think the guy who had the heaviest lift on the stage was Mike Pence. He got more time in front of the camera. He was very aggressive. He was fiery at times. There was a moment where every person on the stage basically they went across the whole room and they asked him, do you think Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th? And everybody on the stage to a person said yes. That didn't hurt Mike Pence. Mike Pence looked like the elder statesman, maybe a little bit too stodgy, but he made some good points, and he came after Ramaswamy, who I think was the loser. Ramaswamy, he's smart. He's, obviously you don't get to be the leader of $1 billion corporation without having a few brain cells to rub together. But at the end of the day, he looked thin. He looked like he didn't have the foreign policy chops to do this thing. And so I think he was sort of the loser. The person who had the most to lose here was DeSantis. By the way, everybody thought that the target was going to be on DeSantis's back. To a large degree, that turned out not to be the case. Not at all. It turned out to be that the target was on Ramaswamy. Everybody went after Ramaswamy to some degree. So to me, the big winner was, Donald Trump by not being there. But beyond that, Pence, I don't think, listen to me before you turn off the radio in anger, because I know how many of you don't like Mike Pence. But Mike Pence, came out with I think people had a better opinion of him after the debate than they had when he went in, and that's a win. Ramaswamy, I think it was exactly the reverse. Now the phone calls are there. Let's run through a bunch of them. Barb in Bradyville. Barb, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Barb?
Hello, Brian. I wanted to tell you who I thought Trump should choose for a running mate of vice president.
Okay, out of that group.
No.
Okay.
No, I think it should be Tucker Carlson.
Well, let's hold on to let's hold on to that opinion for just a few moments, because we're going to get to the big interview with Tucker and with Trump. But let's stay on the debate for a moment. Charles in Hendersonville. Charles, you're up on the drive. What do you say, Charles?
Good afternoon, sir. As much as I agree with you, I'm going to have to disagree with you on your assessment of Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
I think Vivek Ramaswamy is one of the most articulate candidates I've heard in my lifetime. He can always get his foreign policy chops together later on. And quite frankly, I could never vote for Mike Judas Iscariot Pence.
Yep. See, I know that a lot of people feel that way. But, I mean, I'm asking you not who you're going to vote for, because I think most of you are going to vote for Trump. I'm just asking you who you think had the better debate. Do you still feel that way?
I still say Ramaswamy.
Okay. Sounds good, Charles. And I appreciate here's the thing about this, folks. There are no wrong answers. I'm asking your opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. It's like belly buttons. Some are innies and some are outies, but everybody's got an opinion. And so, I'm not going to condemn. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. And it's really how it fell for you is all I'm really asking. Gary in Estelle Springs. Hello, Gary. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Gary?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well.
Oh, I didn't see any of them president material, but Ramaswamy would make a good vice president for Trump. He could learn a lot from him.
In what way?
Well, Trump's better in foreign policy, and he could teach him the foreign policy. One thing about Trump was we didn't have any wars, did we?
No, we didn't. You're absolutely right. And let me ask you that because, you say could be a good vice president running mate. The person who gets chosen to be Trump's running mate probably has a pretty good leg up because Trump can only serve one more term. So I guess that, the question is, do you think Ramaswamy would then be ready to, step up one notch and become president?
I think anybody working with Donald Trump for 4 years would be ready to step up to be president.
All right, Gary, thank you. I got to get some other calls in here. Dan in Franklin. Hello, Dan. Dan, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Dan?
Hey, Brian. Hey, I just want to say that I thought I'm very unique in my thoughts. I think everybody did well. I didn't think anybody did very poorly.
I liked Ramaswamy. He did get beat up a little bit. I don't think he's ready for VP or president. I would make him Secretary of Commerce or something like that. Tim Scott, he's one of my favorites. I think he's fantastic. He didn't come out guns blazing, but that leaves the door open for him to have a strong debate later on. I think anybody on that stage except Ramaswamy could be president. I'd like the two guys that were the outsiders, Hutchinson and the guy from North Dakota. Hey, I thought they sounded fine. They didn't say anything crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, liked Mike Pence. He's a strong Christian. He came across strong. He came across for the Constitution and for the unborn. My hat's off to him.
Yeah, you know, the thing about the debate last night is if this is our bench, it's a pretty good bench. Don't you think? I mean, I really,
Amen.
I really do feel that way. All right, thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Joseph and Christiana. Joseph, well, actually, why don't you hold on, Joseph? I got to take a break here. I'll come back. I'll hit you up in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. It is now 22 past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. How are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be scary out there. But here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and help you make any mid-course corrections that might be necessary. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide that reassurance. It starts with a simple phone call. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. You don't have anything to worry about with that. Just get started by calling this number, 615-488-9303. Now, at the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing that you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path, that all the T's have been crossed and all the I's have been dotted, nothing left out. Again, that number is 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
Ukraine taking the fight to Russia, criminal homicide charges in Humphreys County, plus the latest on the special session. That and more 3:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, we're asking you the question, who won, who lost the debate last night, understanding that probably nobody on that stage is going to become the nominee unless something happens that we don't see. Everybody can agree that Trump probably won by not being there, but of those who were there, all 8 of them, who did you like, who did you not like? I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I love this conversation so much. We're going to take it the entire hour, something that I rarely do. So if you're on the line right now, hang on. And as we clear through some of these calls, we'll have room for other folks. Scott in Murfreesboro, you've been very patient. Actually, let me go to Joseph because I promised he was next. Joseph and Christiana, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Joseph?
Hey, Brian. So just as you just said, Trump is probably the winner for not showing up to that debate. But, one thing that I had a graph about before I knew that he did the Twitter was that he wasn't going to show up because I thought that was disrespectful to the American people. But it probably was more respectful that he didn't show up to begin with because it gave other people options. And so I feel like Haley really shined well. Ramaswamy definitely came off as someone who didn't know anything. He said that people should take a civics test when it's very clear that he probably should take one because he doesn't understand that the Constitution came after our independence. If you go back and watch it, it's really funny. But, then there's also, different types of people. I felt Burgum should probably just drop out along with Asa Hutchinson. And then, Chris Christie was probably just there to knock some people out, but I don't feel like he will make it any far.
Well, Chris Christie was predictable. That was what you get with Chris Christie. I think, no surprises there. Well, Joseph, listen, thank you for the opinions. I got time for one more, but we're going to continue this conversation all the way to the top of the hour after the news. Scott in Murfreesboro, let's get one more in. Scott, you're on with Brian on the drive. Who won, who lost?
I would say Vivek won, and the main reason why I like him, I know he has a lot to learn, but I really think that he'll draw in the 45, younger crowd for the years to come. If he was a vice president for Trump, Trump could show him the ropes. He knows nothing about foreign policy. We've seen that. But his energy and him being able to call out, asking those guys if they're on the take. No, the establishment guys would never do a thing like that, and that's what we need. And I think that'll really adhere to the independence down the road because Trump can only be there 4 years, and then what?
Yeah. Okay, Scott, I think that's a great assessment. And again, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just your opinion. Everybody's entitled to your opinion, So I'm going to squeeze one more in, then we'll take a break. Chris in Columbia, you're home with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Chris?
Hi, yeah. I think that Vivek won. He's got the fastest mind on the stage, I think.
It's very fast,
He's got something to learn as far as the international experience. But, one, I think he's a great contender because Democrats love to say the Republicans the party of the old white Christian men. And while he's a man, he's not white, he's not Christian, and he's not old. And I think with his values and things he supports, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and freedom of business, I think he could be a powerhouse for the future if he's given the chance to learn a little bit. He could be an awesome force for the Republican Party.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Listen, those of you who are still on the line, just hang right there. We're going to do the news, and when I come back, we'll pick up this conversation because I really love what I'm hearing so far. Some really good opinions out there. Right now, 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
.331, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 100 degrees, and that heat is not going anywhere, folks. We've got a heat advisory in effect until 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and the weekend's going to stay right around these triple-digit temperatures. Traffic and our weekend weather forecast coming up in just a few minutes. First drone attacks in Moscow. Now reports Ukraine has landed troops onto Crimea. Tom Sufi Burridge is covering the war in Kyiv.
The Ukrainians are clearly trying to take the fight inside Russia, inside Russian-occupied Crimea, which for the Russian leadership is a holy grail, if you like. It is very, very important for Vladimir Putin. When he annexed it without a fight, he made a real big thing of it, and it really boosted his popularity, and it's important to Russia. So it is a significant moment if the Ukrainians did manage to land on the Crimean Peninsula Ukrainian troops.
Criminal homicide charges in Humphreys County. Channel 4 says sheriff's deputies responded to a home outside of McEwen where the body of a woman was found yesterday. Investigators say an 18-year-old admitted to shooting his mother in the head and then trying to hide the body and evidence. That teenager now remains in jail on an $82,000 bond. And we've got some new details about the gunman in last night's active shooter at a popular bike bar in Orange County, California. 3 victims plus the shooter are dead, 6 more injured, 2 critically. Alex Stone.
Investigators have concluded the shooter was retired Ventura police officer John Snowling. His ex-wife was apparently the target of the shooting. She was shot in the face but survived. Investigators don't know why the other victims were shot, and now with Snowling dead, an answer may not come immediately. Snowling was shot and killed after deputies opened fire on him. He was near his truck, sources say, reloading or getting another gun when they arrived.
And that is the latest news. Weather and traffic next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Yeah, we have phone lines open and more of your calls straight ahead. You know the number, 615-737-9986, who won, who lost. In the meantime, let me tell you about Grace Point Healthcare, delivering medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing, so you'll know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. Smart Care plans start at $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they do offer family plans as well. Now, if you marry that with a high-deductible insurance plan that you may already have, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms, and they treat naturally whenever possible. It is also a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toaster Music City year after year after year. Grace Point wants you to know they believe strongly in freedom of choice when it comes to vaccines for you and your children. Here's the number on Main Street in Franklin. You can reach Grace Point Healthcare at 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
And what puzzles
No, you
me
wanna cut the-
is,
aid
I want to
off.
learn
And
from
let
those
me
and
tell
apply
you,
those to protect
it's
our
not
homeland,
that
Nikki.
Israel-
I mean, it was a feisty debate last night. People stepping all over each other. People, ignoring the moderators of the debate at times, and it just went. It was a pretty good debate as these things go. Now, a couple of things I'm going to say right off the bat. Number one, I don't think anybody on this stage is likely to be the nominee. I mean, let's just talk about it. Donald Trump leads by 30, 40 points in almost every survey that you see. It seems likely Donald Trump's going to be the nominee, but these could potentially be in his cabinet, could potentially be a running mate for Donald Trump. So people were watching with great interest. So who do you think won? Who do you think lost? We're taking your opinions at 615-737-9986. Let's go to Corey in Goodlettsville. Corey, you're on with Brian on the drive. Give us your thought there, Corey.
Okay, I think Trump won definitely. And a running mate, Ramaswamy, got to be the best bet for him. Pence.
So a lot of people like Ramaswamy. I'm really surprised by that. How strong people are on Ramaswamy.
Just, it's a change. It's different. People are wanting that. Pence, it just seems to me like, I don't know, his eyes seem like they're closed all the time, like he's squinting. It just throws me off. But that's my thoughts anyway.
All right, Corey, thank you for that. Again, everybody's got an opinion. We're not saying anybody's right or anybody's wrong. We're just saying, what did you think? Ramaswamy getting a lot of positive feedback here, though. Ricky in Watertown. Ricky, you're up with Brian on the drive. Tell us what you think. Ricky?
You say Rick? Okay, yeah. I like Tim Scott. He was cool, calm, and collective, and he didn't raise his voice. He acted like somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that is who I wish Trump would pick for VP.
You'd like to see that guy run. And Trump has said positive things about Rick Scott.
I think he's a good man.
All right, Ricky, thank you very much. Rishi in Murfreesboro, you're up with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Rishi?
Hi, Brian. I like your show, and I'll tell you, the Mike Pence impressed me, actually. He seems like he's honest. He had knowledge of Constitution and a lot of experience, actually. So I think he seems to be genuine, honest, knowledgeable, and to the point, actually. The person.
Well, I think we can agree that Mike Pence is probably not going to be Trump's running mate, though, right?
I agree with you, but I mean, you're asking me who did impress people and who came out honestly, actually.
All right, and who do you think did not do well?
Vivek Ramaswamy, actually. He felt like he was artificial. He did not have knowledge regarding foreign affairs at all. And I think, he was basically Democrat for so many years, and for 12 years he did not even vote, actually. So I think he's trained good, but on the other side, he doesn't have a bottom or a structure to kind of stand on, actually, because you saw in the foreign policy he flopped. I mean, you cannot basically take care of foreign.
You mentioned Pence and a guy who has clearly has gravitas. I wouldn't say that Ramaswamy has gravitas. He's got a lot of other things going for him, and including an exceptionally fast mind. I mean, his mind runs at 1,000 miles an hour. Thank you, Rishi. I appreciate it. This is good stuff. I like this. Forrest in Mount Juliet. Forrest, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. What did you think, Forrest?
I thought, first, everybody needs to know how to pronounce his name. It's Vivek, not Vivek. Even your morning show host, Chris Hand, who likes him, cannot pronounce his name right.
Well, go on. And what else?
Well, you're radio guys. You ought to be able to pronounce his name right.
Okay, but what's your other point?
I think he won the debate. And if you've listened to any other speeches of him, he wants to get rid of the Department of Education, which is right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
And, as long as he can back up what he says, and we don't know if he can or not, he says all the right things. It's just like our president in 2016. except our president in 2016 did not. So all we can do is believe what they say and hope he does. And you want to know what I'm talking about?
Well, I appreciate your opinion. Let's get a lot of other folks in here stacked up. Gary in Columbia, you're on with Brian on the drive. Gary, there you are. You're up next on the drive, Gary. What do you say?
I think Vivek is the one that had the most to lose, or he had nothing to lose. And so I think he came out of it with energy. So I think he did. As for Pence, he's polished, he's poised, he's been there, but okay, it's a numbugger. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's right. He's not likely, I think, to win the nomination, and I think I think there's zero chance of becoming Trump's running mate because, been there, done that, and I think there's still a lot of bad blood between the two of them. All I said was, who came into the thing when I said that, I thought Pence had a good night. He spoke more than anybody else, but it's because he was very forceful about getting his thoughts across. And the other thing about him is that at one point, probably the best moment for him, a moment of rehabilitation in the mind of many, was when everybody on the stage said, with no exception, that they believed he did the right thing on January 6th. You may have a different opinion, but, that didn't hurt him at all. But is he going to be the nominee? No, I just don't see that happening, and I don't see him at all being a part of anything that Trump would do. So, again, what is to win the debate if ultimately you can't win the game? I think that's the thing to say about Pence. Keith in Ashland City. Keith, you're up next on the drive. You watched the debate. Who was the winner? Who was the loser?
I did watch the debate. Ramaswamy, to me, sounded good. Everybody wants to say that he's green on foreign policy. Is that because he don't want to send all our money to other countries? We've got people here. We could use the money here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna speak for other people. I thought, look, there's no doubt the man has a brain, and he's quick, and he's fast, and he's glib, and he's a powerful communicator. I just think that he was the one that had the target on his back last night. Everybody was taking a shot at him, and I think the thing that it revealed is perhaps a little thin on foreign policy, which I think right now is so important. Keith, thank you so much. Rebecca in Brentwood, you're up next on the drive. Hello, Rebecca. What do you think?
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me on. I love your show, Brian.
Thank you.
Listen. I'm a Trump. I feel like he deserves his 4 years, and I really think he's going to pick Kennedy Jr. as a VP running mate. But as far as the debates last night, there's something, and Vivek, however you say it, VR. There's always been something about him that it seems coached. It's almost like he and Obama, they have a lot of similarities of how they.
Are you saying that he comes across maybe as just a little too slick?
Yes. And I feel like I really need to know more about the donations that his campaign had taken from Soros. I wish somebody could, dig into that more. I'd like to know about that. I just don't think the trust is there for me right now.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. I don't know that his campaign has taken money from Soros. I think there were allegations. I want to say that he got some kind of educational grant from a Soros, but not George Soros. That's my memory on it. I'll look it back up. Adam in Spring Hill, you're up next. What do you think, Adam?
Yes, hi Brian. As far as the debates go, Ramaswamy, I got to agree with the last caller. I need to know more about this money that came from Soros. I heard it was something like $90,000. Another thing which I think isn't going to go over too good with the American people is his lack of support for Israel, because a lot of conservatives, we all support Israel. Mike Pence, I think there's too much distrust in him. People feel he turned his back on Trump, so I don't see anything there. Chris Christie, I think he was just kind of a joke last night, and he got booed. So I think really after looking at everybody, Donald Trump by far is the real winner, and he wasn't even there. So I just wanted to share that.
All right, Adam. Listen, I appreciate it. And again, as I've said, there are no wrong answers here. You're entitled to your opinion. You saw it, and you get to choose. But the goal here is to make sure that we have a conversation and just find out where people are. And we're I am telling you, Ramaswamy's getting some pretty nice comments. I think there's some level of concern about somebody that we don't know as well as perhaps the others. But I thought he was the loser. So, everybody's entitled to an opinion here. There's no right or wrong. Ronnie in Murfreesboro, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Ronnie?
Yeah, two things. I think the guy that was a loser when he stepped up on the stage and he left the stage a loser was Chris Christie. And as far as experience in foreign affairs, we elected the most qualified guy in Washington as a president in foreign affairs, and look what a disaster it's been. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, you're talking about Biden there. Okay, thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, you're right about that. Well, the thing about Biden is that if you were President Obama and you asked Biden for his opinion, you would do well to do exactly 180 degrees the other thing that he, from whatever he suggested, go the other way, you'd come out okay. He universally has the worst foreign policy sense of any man I've ever seen. Who's, this is a man who, by the way, at one point was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. All right, let's get one more in here, and we'll call it quits for this hour. James in Woodbury, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, James?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I think Ramaswamy was the winner, even though I agree with some of the callers on the trust is not there. But he was the only one to question 9/11 and wasn't a warmonger like the rest of them. We should not be helping these foreign countries at all. And as far as Israel goes, not all conservatives agree with, supporting Israel. That's just a fact. We should put America first and only.
All right, James, many, many thanks. This was a great conversation, and again, as I want to point out, you can have an opinion and you're entitled to it. I just wanted to know sort of what you thought. For me, if I just had to sort of sum it up, it seems to me the guy that I thought lost really impressed a lot of you. So, I mean, there's a myriad of opinions out there, and none of them are wrong. It's just your opinion. All right, we'll call that at 51 minutes past the hour now on Super Talk 99.7. What is EverSeal? Well, it's a sealant for wood and concrete. And this is something new and different. I mean, it's actually been around for ages, but it was used mostly in industrial applications until the folks at EverSeal figured out how to provide a permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. They start with a big deep cleaning all the way down to your wood and concrete to bring it back and looking as new as it possibly can. And then they use their patented sealant, which will absorb all the way through and become a permanent part of your wood and concrete. A permanent part. It actually soaks into it, becomes a part of it, and then it can prevent further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. Think about that. Think about how much money you'll save over 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, this really makes a lot of sense. You want to be one and done, right? So you can actually use these areas in the exterior of your home rather than, have to have, maintenance done on them annually. So if this sounds like something you'd like to explore, reach out to Steve Nelson and the team over at EverSeal. Here's the number, 1-844-EVER-USA. 1-844-EVER-USA. Learn more at ever-seal.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. We know that diversification is an important part of the investing process, but how do you reduce risk of a portfolio through diversification? Well, you use correlations. Now think of bathing suit sales and suntan oil sales. They tend to move together, right? Think of bathing suit sales versus winter coat sales. More dissimilar movement, and that's the idea. But why is diversification so important? Well, think about it this way. Everybody would like to have this happen with their investments. They just go straight up. But what we know is this is really what tends to happen. Markets may go way up and then down, or down, then way up. Now let's say if we isolate parts of that curve right there, and the first curve right there, and the second curve right there. If you're putting money away for retirement, every time you put money in, if this is what's going on, you're buying more shares. Then just before you retire, the market goes up, you're really happy. If on the other hand, you keep paying a higher and higher price and then the market goes down, you're really sad. And we can't choose what's going to happen with the market next. But what we can do is what we know through academic research, and there are Nobel Prizes awarded for this, is we can look for things that tend to move in dissimilar fashion. And what happens when we do that, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio, hence bringing those curves in. Now that's the idea. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Hear who the Biden administration thinks won the GOP presidential debate last night. Crime at 11 and truck stop. The Pentagon speaks on Wagner Group leader's death. And Barbie breaks more records. Those stories and more coming up at 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 58 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Let's see what's going on with the markets now that they've closed. Wow, not a good day. Dow Jones Industrials down 373 points. That's a little over 1%. S&P is down 59. That's 1.33%. NASDAQ down 257. That's approaching 2% on the NASDAQ. So a very red day on the major indices. I think it has to do, John Maxon, with a lot of people still waiting to find out what the Fed is going to do about interest rates.
Boy, you're right, Brian. And it was a rough day in the market after we had that rally with the massive earnings from NVIDIA. And really what happened was there were several Federal Reserve officials that came out in advance of Chairman Powell's speech tomorrow who indicated that not only may the Fed not be done raising interest rates, but in fact, they may have to hold them at elevated levels for a longer period of time. That's really going to impact the cost of capital and access to capital for mortgages and a whole lot of things for potentially businesses. And the market doesn't like that. So it's going to be watching his speech very closely tomorrow. I think what you're going to see is a measured approach versus really hawkish. But again, the market's a little bit on edge right now, waiting to hear what he says. It's all about interest rates.
It certainly is, John. That's John Maxon with Beacon Capital Management. You can learn more about all the things they can do for you by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 59 minutes past the hour. Eurofix has a very different business philosophy. They staff all of their locations with more staff than you need in an auto repair shop generally. That's just so they can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you noticed how hard it could be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers, you can wait more than 2 weeks just to get an appointment, but not Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus, a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now. I mean, you don't want it in 2 weeks. You want it now. Aaron Stokes says that it'll never be too busy for their customers. They are here to take away their pain. Now, Eurofix repairs all European cars. Eurofix says yes to speedy repairs when others can't or won't. It's been family-owned for 24 years, so call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 100 degrees, heat advisory in effect until 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Complete weather and traffic report in 5 minutes. As Republicans weigh who performed the best on last night's debate stage, President Joe Biden's campaign is saying that he actually won the night. Brittany Shepard.
The Biden campaign says Republicans on stage were extreme and out of touch.
They want to talk about critical race theory. They want to talk about banning books. They want to talk about erasing the horrors of slavery, but they don't want to talk about increasing tutoring access, making sure our students can catch up, keeping our schools safe from gun violence.
That's Biden campaign spokesperson Kevin Munoz. But Biden will have to make this case to the American public on the trail and through the bully pulpit, as the Democrats have no plans of holding debates of their own.
Over here in Tennessee, 2 bodies were found at a Lebanon truck stop this morning, according to News 2. The 2 bodies were inside the cab of a truck at the Pilot on Highway 231 off of Interstate 40. Both bodies are being brought to the medical examiner's office for further examination. The Pentagon says it's likely Wagner mercenary group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin was killed in a plane crash in Russia, but they're stopping short on saying that it was a targeted killing. Prigozhin's Wagner group staged a brief Russian rebellion in June. Tom Sufi-Burridge reports from Kyiv.
They're not being drawn on whether or not he was assassinated, but, you have to look at the big picture. Weeks ago, Yevgeny Prigozhin led that mutiny. Thousands of troops. He went against the Kremlin. Vladimir Putin went on national TV and called it a stab in the back and said that there would be retribution for those involved. There wasn't retribution for a long period of time. There's now that question mark.
And Ukrainians say they've seen some evidence of some of those fighters moving back to Russia. Crime back here in the volunteer state. 42-year-old DeAndre Edmondson was charged with animal cruelty after officials found chickens on his farm that were starved to death. Some of these 38 alive chickens had started to eat the other 7 dead chickens just to survive. And this is not the first time officials in animal control have had to get involved with Edmondson's property. And some entertainment news. It's official. Barbie, now the highest grossing film in North America this year. Jason Nathanson.
Where are we going? Barbie Land.
And people keep going to Barbie Land, the film stomping Super Mario Brothers to become the biggest moneymaker of 2023 in the U.S. and Canada. Total cash so far, $574.4 million. And there's more to come. Barbie's still in theaters, and next month it'll go into IMAX for the first time with new footage. Worldwide, Super Mario Brothers still king, but Barbie's closing in on that as well. On the all-time domestic list, not adjusted for inflation, Barbie is now the 14th highest-grossing film in North America.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It's hour number 2 of the drive at 4:07 on this 24th day of August. 100 degrees outside, and it feels like, I don't know, 150, 152 degrees. I don't know. It really feels hot, so be careful out there. We want you to get home safely. I mean, it literally, You talk about sometimes how it's cold and it takes your breath away. I think when it's hot, it does that as well. I mean, you go, oh.
Especially when you
That
get in
is-
your car that's been parked out in the sun
Yeah.
for all day.
Yeah, I know. I've always noticed how, you as a gentleman, right? You open the door for your wife or your girlfriend, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
And you open the door on the passenger side. And then you go around the car on a hot day, and the first thing you're going to do, of course, is turn on the car and get the air conditioner going, and it's like never fast enough.
No.
I'm dying. Well, hold on. It takes a little while, to turn on the car, But anyway, you try to be a gentleman, and it just it never quite works out. We spent the first hour going through the debate. Now, again. The debate last night was among 8 people who have, got enough following and have met the criteria of the debate rules to get on the stage. I don't think any of those guys, or I have to say we also have Nikki Haley in there, so neither of these men and women are going to be the nominee. I mean, I think it's pretty clear as it stands right now, and my take on it is. It's going to be impossible to beat Trump, unless there's something on the horizon happens that you and I don't see. And because the polls out there and the reporting that's been done there suggests that even if something were to happen, and even if there were to be a conviction, Republicans would still probably stand behind Trump and nominate him. So those people are not likely to ever be the nominee. They might be a running mate. It might be interesting to see how that all plays out. But there's that. And then the question is, well, what about Trump? Well, Trump decided not to go to the debate stage. I think a great move. By not going to the debate, he won the debate. It would have been a lot of pot shots at him, et cetera, and he would have taken up all of the oxygen in the room. By the way, in the debate, we were just talking about this, Chris and I, during the break. We heard an hour's worth of comments from people. Nobody seemed to be enthusiastic about DeSantis. I can't think of one person we talked to who said, I thought
same.
DeSantis had a great night. I think DeSantis didn't hurt himself, but I don't think DeSantis helped himself, which is what he really needed to do because his numbers have been sort of getting a little soft, and Ramaswamy seems to be coming on strong, and he didn't really do himself much good. I don't think he hurt himself. I don't think he helped himself all that much. And everybody thought that was the thing. He needed to have a breakout moment, and I don't think he really had that. But let's get back to Trump. Trump did an interview with Tucker Carlson, and he went on but I think the last time I checked, that interview on X, formerly known as Twitter, had about 200 million views. Can you check the latest on that, Chris, while I'm doing some of these sound bites? Because that was early in the day. It was right knocking on the door of 200 million views. So, not a bad choice for him to do that. And a lot of people have watched it, and they didn't have to watch it, at a specific time. They can continue to watch it because it's all out there. And here's some from the Tucker Carlson Trump interview where Trump made the case that he thinks President Biden is compromised.
When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense, bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax, I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes, and he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette at Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had, and he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
So
and
who is
I
running the
actually
government?
believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and They probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate.
Well, that's pretty strong stuff. But do you note, Chris, as I'm listening to that, do you sense that Trump is dialing it back just a little bit?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
not as flamboyant or as I use this in it has a pejorative meaning. I don't mean it in that way, but not as bombastic and loud and aggressive as he normally is. Pulling it back, just having a conversation. A lot of people think now. I know what you're going to say, but a lot of people think if he had dialed it back about 10%, 15% in the last, he would be president today. I know that, we have different opinions about that and about whether the election was stolen or not, and he does. We're going to have a lot of time to litigate that, apparently. But I love the tone. It's exactly right. This is exactly what he needs to be doing. And it's Trump just dialed back a hair. And I like it. I like what I'm hearing here. Here is Trump talking about Kamala Harris.
So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody.
Well, he's talking about Biden failing and what happens if Biden, can't be the nominee.
So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird. It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you?
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And I think they probably have some kind of a primary and other people will get involved.
Newsom, right? I mean,
could be. I mean, I always got along well with him, believe it or not. But could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care.
Well, anyway, there you have a little bit of Trump from that interview with Tucker Carlson. Did you get a number on the number of views?
Yeah, 236 million times.
Wow. I mean, that means that probably a lot more people saw the Trump interview than saw the debate.
I would say yes.
I haven't seen the numbers from the debate, but that would be a tough number to beat right there. That's the wonderful thing about doing it on the internet. You get an actual number of people who actually sat through the interview, and that's pretty interesting. There are a lot of other things. This is from The Hill. Trump tells Carlson he should not have been fired. It was really sort of a jam up to Fox because he's mad at Fox right now. He said that Chris Christie was a savage maniac. He runs solely on the basis of let's get Trump. He's like a savage maniac. He's like a lunatic. And that's all he talks about. And his poll numbers are very, very low. Trump attacked Barr, Bill Barr, the former attorney general. Former Fox News host brought up former Attorney General William Barr in an unusual fashion, raising a report he wrote about the death of Jeffrey Epstein in prison. Carlson questioned why Barr wrote in his biography that Epstein likely killed himself, a nod to conspiracy theories. Trump said he did not know, but he quickly pivoted to attacking the former attorney general over his refusals during when he was attorney general under Trump. Trump on January 6th and political violence. Carlson asked Trump if he felt the country was moving towards civil war, which prompted the former president to invoke January 6th. There's tremendous passion and there's tremendous love. January 6th was a very interesting day because they don't report it properly. I believe it's the biggest crowd I've ever spoken before. He said a very small group went down to the Capitol but argued there was love and unity in the crowd. Is the country headed toward open conflict? Trump said there is a level of passion and hatred I've never seen, and that's probably a bad combination. I do not disagree with that, actually. I think he's right on that. So anyway, I think it's pretty strong interview. 236 million viewers and counting, and there'll be more who look at it in the days ahead. And again, I'm really, really, really very, very impressed with sort of the just dialing back a little bit. I mean, look, I'm a broadcaster. So one of the things that I always look at is how effective is somebody as a communicator. And I always thought that Trump had great ideas. I just wish that sometimes he would just pull in his horn, as we say in Texas, pull in your horns just a little bit there, partner, and you'll be fine. But nonetheless, there you go. There is another thing that's happening in Trump world today that you may know about, and that is he's going to appear, I think it's, 7:30 Eastern time, which would be 6:30 our time. He's going to appear down in Fulton County for his arraignment. Large crowd of Trump supporters have gathered outside of Fulton County, Georgia's jail this morning, awaiting the former president's arrival. Again, and nobody knew when he was coming. I think what they did probably was they said, traffic in Atlanta is a disaster. Why don't you come about 7 o'clock, 7:30, after, the rush hour, and everybody will get home early, and you can come in here and it won't be a big problem. I'm pretty sure it's mostly about traffic is why it's so late in the day. He will be arraigned. He will have to post a $200,000 bond. And the way it sounds right now, it sounds like they're going to make him take the mug shot, which is not much of a mug shot. I think of a mug shot as you're standing in front of a wall that has something that measures how tall you are in the background, and you've got a little card that shows your number, and that it's not like that at all. The mug shots that have been taken, Rudy Giuliani's mug shot, pretty good. He looked pretty good in it.
Kind of like a driver's license photo is what they look like.
It's what it looks like. Yeah, yeah. It's got a Fulton County Sheriff's Office logo in the background. That's it. And some of the people who came in to have their mugshots taken, who are there's like 19 defendants in this thing, and some of the people who come in, they gave it their glamour shot smile, and just like if they're gonna take my picture, I'm gonna look good, if it's possible. The Fulton County District Attorney has asked for the Trump 2020 election trial to start on October 23rd. Wow. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis on Thursday asked a judge to schedule the start of the trial against former President Donald Trump and all 18 co-defendants on October 23rd of 2023. Citing defendant Kenneth Cheesebro's request for a speedy trial, Willis asked that all defendants be tried in October. Willis had originally asked the judge to set March 4th of 2024 as the trial date. That would be right in the middle of primaries. And that would be right after the Iowa caucuses, I think. So now that has changed. Now, I don't think that's a realistic date, but we'll watch it. Again, we'll be here at 6:30 watching what happens in Fulton County as the former president arrives for all of that. There'll be a big dog and pony show, and we're on it. 22 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Genesis Diamonds, people around here know Genesis Diamonds is a value leader because they've proven it time and time again. You want to know why? Genesis is a true direct importer with connections that go back 50 plus years. You're not going to have a middleman markup, no consignment fees. They're not a bunch of third-party people that have to be paid. But one thing people who really love about Genesis is how you can get her a better ring. That's right, a designer ring. A handcrafted ring that reflects how you see her. While other stores sell knockoff rings or crappy overseas rings, at Genesis you can get her a stunning designer ring made in America by top designers. These rings are made to last, names like Tacori and Verragio, dozens more. She will probably show off her Genesis ring because it won't be a mass-produced ring. It will be something unique, something amazing. And don't worry about the price. Genesis will make sure you can get her a designer ring that fits your budget with the diamond she will love. That's what Genesis specializes in, combining the best diamond value with the best quality ring to give you the total package with a free lifetime warranty as well. Genesis Diamonds, where luxury and value come together every day. Check them out, Green Hills, Cool Springs, and don't forget about the all-new collection of amazing luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. It's something to see.
New details about now dead Wagner Group leader after plane crash yesterday, animal cruelty in Tennessee, and today's Money News. Those stories and more coming up 30 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, Mac Morey, you know, I have a proprietary algorithm that I use to search the World Wide Web for stories that might be of interest. And, you know, that's how I found out, for example, that apparently there are some Tennesseans who had to be told, do not kiss your small turtle because you can get salmonella. But I found this story as well. I mean, the algorithm gets its job done.
Algorithm is undefeated.
There is no algorithm. Because I don't even know what an algorithm is, and you know, with my math skills, it has to do with math, and so there's no other. But I did find this story about the White Sox in Chicago potentially looking for a new place to be, and it says White Sox currently call the south side of Chicago home. On the south side of Chicago, it's the baddest part of town.
Yeesh.
And if
what
you
I
go
hear.
down there, you better just beware of a guy named Leroy Brown. But the White Sox currently call the south side home. And rumors say that they're looking to maybe move to the suburbs or possibly, here's the key word, out of state with a move to Nashville, the MLB expansion city. Ford said if the White Sox were to pack up and leave, it could open the door for more housing, which is what is needed in that area. So they would basically tear down White Sox Stadium and then, build houses there. But, I mean, what do you think? Are we really in for this, or is this just the White Sox trying to negotiate a better deal?
I think this all goes along with that new Titans Stadium. I think that just screams everything else. They're going to want all the events that they can get, and that means, another sports franchise if possible. Yeah, I think that the city is going to be interested. And me personally, selfishly, heck yeah, I'll go to a baseball game. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I saw what it meant to Washington, D.C., and I was there, for a long time, and every year Washington may get a baseball team back. They may eventually get a baseball team back. And, man, when it did, it really it caused a whole portion of town to sort of be reinvented because they put the stadium there. Now, can they play baseball in the new stadium, or would they build a separate facility maybe where the old Titan Stadium is?
I'd imagine that would be the plan.
Yeah, because it's a beautiful ballpark, but it doesn't.
No.
Was it First Horizon Park?
Yeah, First Horizon.
It only holds like 10,000 people, I think. So
Pretty
it's
small.
Not near big enough for a major league stadium. And I guess they
Okay.
could do some expansion work on it, but it's going to happen. The expansion of Major League Baseball is happening, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's happening.
So yeah, I think that's a big push to bring Nashville a team here. So
Man, that would be so
interesting.
cool.
That would be awesome.
There's nothing better than good old American baseball.
Yes, sir.
I'm not a big sports fan, but it's a whole different thing to go to a stadium and watch a game in person than it is to watch it on TV.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if I watch a baseball game on TV, within a few moments,
100%.
because I'm like that most of the time anyway. But that would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, get a hot dog, sing the song, get some
That's
Cracker
right.
Jacks.
Get you some peanuts and Cracker Jacks,
Yes.
and I don't care if I ever come back. Okay, 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock.
Minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 101 degrees now in Nashville. Got a full forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Wagner mercenary members are reportedly angered about the plane crash that killed the group's leader Yevgeny Prigozhin, who staged a brief Russian rebellion in June. Tom Sufi-Burridge reports from Kyiv.
We have seen some comments on social media from Telegram channels, allied to Yevgeny Prigozhin and the Wagner Group, outraged at his death, accusing the Russian state of killing him and threatening some type of rebellion. But I don't think we're seeing any evidence right now of actually a concerted effort to move against the Kremlin.
And Ukrainians say they've seen some evidence of some of those fighters moving back to Russia. Crime in Tennessee, 42-year-old DeAndre Edmondson. He's charged with animal cruelty. Officials found chickens on his farm that were starved to death. Some of these alive chickens, around 38, were eating some 7 dead chickens just to survive. And this is not the first time officials and animal control have had to take a visit to Edmondson's property and get involved. Now over to the money news. Daria Albinger walks us through Wall Street.
Up one day, down the next. The Dow gave up 374 points. The Nasdaq fell 257. And after a strong start, the S&P closed down 60. Stocks tumbled ahead of a highly anticipated speech from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. He'll give it at an annual conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which has been the site of some of the Fed's most important announcements. The markets are also reacting to some mixed reports on the economy. One showed fewer U.S. workers filed for unemployment benefits last week. It was the second drop in as many weeks. It's also the latest sign that the job market is still remarkably resilient despite persistently high inflation. The other report said orders for long-lasting goods fell by more last month than economists predicted. It could be a signal of worsening conditions for the manufacturing sector. If you take out airplanes and other transportation equipment, though, orders for durable goods actually rose more than expected.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
You know, it's 101 degrees out there, and if your air conditioner ain't getting it done, there's just one number you need to call. You know it, 775-7833. Call the folks at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and they will buzz right over to your hive and get it done for you. They'll get you back up and running as soon as they possibly can. And, you know, if you have reached the point, and this doesn't happen to everybody. Not everybody who goes there is going to need a new system, but, you know, sometimes. Oh, I'll tell you what they did to me when they came out to my house. My house was about 20 years old. And they said, look, we can get your air conditioning going again, but I don't know that it's going to last that long. And it is 20 years old. And, you know, here are the options. Here's one that kicks the can down the road, and here's one that replaces the system. And I just went ahead and decided 20 years is a good run for an HVAC system, and I replaced my system. But they'll give you the options. Now, you might want to become a member of the Beehive Club. I am. They were just out here the other day doing their inspection of my cooling setting. Since everything's relatively new, about a year old, everything came out looking good, but they come out and do it anyway. That's the way to keep making sure that your air conditioner works and doesn't break down when it's like 101 outside, right? $99, you'll get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7, 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. 775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air. You're listening to the Drive on a very hot and sticky day. Temperatures are well into 3 digits now. And the relative humidity is, well, it's ugly. I'm trying to think of a good adjective. It is yuck.
That's a good adjective.
That works.
Yeah. I'm telling you, normally by now, the bulldog is back there on the couch. She's wanting to get out of here and go, down to Grogu's garden or out to the pool and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Not asking today.
Yeah, she's like, nah, heck with that.
No. She says, no, I'll just sit right here under this wonderful air conditioning system, and I'm not moving. But anyway, it is just that it's that ugly out there. We talk from time to time about woke policies that are being imposed upon Americans, and we talk about this and we talk about that, and I think that a lot of the stuff that the liberal left want to impose upon us are causing problems. But I never really thought of it in these terms until I read this story today in The Federalist. Now, I don't normally just read an entire story. I mean, I read portions of stories and I add my own thoughts to it and I expand upon it and I go from there most days. But this is so good and this is so powerfully written that I'm just going to read big, long chunks of it today because I think you can, you'll really appreciate what I'm about to tell you, that wokeness can put you in danger, real honest danger. So listen to this for a moment, okay? And I'll try to tell you when I'm dropping out of the story to offer my own opinion. From thefederalist.com, you can find this on yourfarb.com. And you can find how to reach your farm by going to 997WTN.com. Okay, here we go. There are plenty of heartbreaking details to resurface about the fires that raged through Maui and leveled the seaside town of Lahaina. But there is little doubt that government incompetence contributed to the tragedy. Precautionary measures to mitigate the island's high fire risk had been insufficiently implemented, according to the Wall Street Journal. Fire crews had initially responded to the fire and declared it 100% contained before it later reignited. After the fire spread, the area's siren alert system lay silent. As people lost power and cell service, local officials warned via some glitchy message on their cell phones. Some never got the warnings at all. According to evacuees, road closures made it harder for fleeing residents to escape, trapping some in their cars as the fire roared through. Perhaps worst of all, the Department of Land and Natural Resources delayed the release of water that landowners wanted to help protect their property from fires until it was too late, according to the Honolulu Civil Beat. 4 people with knowledge of the situation told the local outlet that M. Kaleo Manuel, the agency's director for water resource management, balked at a Maui property management company's desperate request for water, and that delay lasted more than 5 hours. According to the New York Post, Manuel had previously discussed the need for water distribution to be based on true conservation about equity, formerly affiliated with the Obama Foundation. Manuel insisted that Hawaiians must coexist with resources like water. That the kind of guy you want in charge of decisions that might save or cost you your life? This kind of apparent incompetence infects nearly every sphere woke activists can get their PowerPoint clicking fingers on. Whether by hiring people who score high on DEI rubrics instead of job qualifications, or by just flat out hiring people who want to tear down the system they're supposed to be running, the folks in charge are playing with, well, fire. For the sake of inclusivity, the Federal Aviation Administration, which is currently advertising air traffic control positions, notes on its website that it uses direct hiring authorities to expedite the hiring of people with severe disabilities, such as complete paralysis, severe intellectual disability, and psychiatric disability. We're talking about air traffic controllers here. Doesn't that make you feel confident about the people you entrust with your life every time that you fly? As Peachy Keenan noted in these pages last month, airlines like United and American are openly hiring people based on characteristics like race and sex, which the last time I checked, this is their reading, I have nothing to do with knowing how to fly an airplane. In a twist of fate that definitely no one could have foreseen, the last 12 months have delivered the highest number of near collisions and narrowly averted disasters in modern aviation history. Speaking of entrusting your life to someone, have you been to your doctor's office lately? How does it feel to depend on medical professionals who ask you whether you're a man or a woman, or to know that the American Academy of Family Physicians will look at your care through diversity, equity, inclusiveness, and an anti-racism lens. Despite the Supreme Court's verdict that the affirmative action policies are unconstitutional, medical schools are still considering ways to use adversity scores to artificially inflate or deflate the number of students of different races that make the cut and eventually become your local your doctor. Not only will conferring MDs based on superficial qualities that have nothing to do with competence mean your doctor may not be the most qualified, but woke policies in medicine are directly costing you care. Did you skip the COVID shot? Congrats. You're no longer eligible for that life-saving organ transplant that you've been waiting for. Oh, you don't like the banner at the hospital lobby proclaiming adherence to the idea that men can become women? Sorry, no more cancer treatment for you. It's the same mindset that led to the hiring of people like Sam Brinton, the cross-dressing baggage claim larcenist who someone thought was qualified to help run the Energy Department of the Energy Department's Office of Nuclear Energy, or the hiring of Pete Buttigieg, who failed upward from being an ineffective mayor to a transportation secretary who took time off during a supply chain crisis and was absent during a chemical disaster in East Palestine, Ohio. It was also apparently the mindset of the CEO of OceanGate, who explained how he didn't want to hire a bunch of 50-year-old white guys before he tragically died in his own submersible earlier this year. Need more example? Just look at how the world's greatest fighting force has stopped winning recruits in wars alike thanks to the incompetence in charge. You are surprised when top brass funnel chunks of that big old defense budget Republicans vote for every year toward things like subsidizing service members' abortion and transgender surgeries. They get worse at fighting wars while they're in the middle of all that. When soldiers, pilots, doctors, and emergency management directors and anyone else whose job involves some kind of responsibility for other people's lives are compromised by ideologies and hiring practices that devalue basic competence and mission fit, the people they serve become more at risk. It is only a matter of time before the wrong man or woman for this job has your life in their hands. Victims in Maui, it sounds like that moment already came. This is written by L. Purnell, and again, you can find it at thefederalist.com. Look, I don't care if you are red, black, yellow, green, purple, or orange. I don't care, honestly. What I care about is, and especially if I'm going to the doctor, if I'm getting on a plane, if I'm in a position where public safety is important, all I care about is that you're qualified. But now, that's no longer the decision that we make. We no longer make decisions based on, are you qualified for this position? We make decisions based on some DEI woke policy that may put people in these positions from time to time who aren't up to the job at hand. This story that came out the other day about near misses with aircraft, just happens to coincide with the idea that airlines, and not only airlines, but the air traffic controllers are now using a whole different set of markers to decide who should be given these jobs. No longer is it, are you qualified? Do you have the right personality for example, air traffic controllers? What a high pressure job that is, right? And do you honestly are going to put somebody at the head of the line who has a psychiatric disability as an air traffic controller? How's that going to work out? Look, I don't have a problem with giving people a hand up, but I also understand that public safety is something where you just sort of have to have people who are somewhat competent. I guarantee you by the time we get through everything that we're learning about what happened in Maui, you're going to find out there was widespread incompetence, and that the people that were in charge of security of that island were people who were given the job because of their political connections, or because they looked and fit the part that the Democrats want. We want somebody, to fill this job, and we want to have diversity and equity and inclusion and all that. But at the same time, did you actually hire someone who could have, been competent in the job? Because it appears everything we're hearing is that there was an absolute level of incompetence in that particular organization. In fact, I read a story today that a lot of the island's FEMA people were on the island of Oahu going through some kind of training seminar instead of, and that's why it was so crazy and perhaps chaotic, and so many people may have died. We're talking now more than 115 people that are confirmed dead, and maybe 1,100 more who have not been found and identified as yet. Woke hiring shouldn't put the general public in danger. Listen, I don't have a problem with helping people out and giving them a leg up, but I do have a problem when that happens in areas that have to do with my medical care, with my public safety care, and making sure that the public is safe. Maybe we ought to stop and say that there are just some times where we need to think about the most important thing, which is the competence of the people who are taking these jobs, rather than whether or not they check off a freaking box. It's 4:50 now on Super Talks 99.7.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. We know that diversification is an important part of the investing process, but how do you reduce risk of a portfolio through diversification? Well, you use correlations. Now think of bathing suit sales and suntan oil sales. They tend to move together, right? Think of bathing suit sales versus winter coat sales. More dissimilar movement, and that's the idea. But why is diversification so important? Well, think about it this way. Everybody would like to have this happen with their investments. They just go straight up. But what we know is this is really what tends to happen. Markets may go way up and then down, or down, then way up. Now let's say if we isolate parts of that curve right there, and the first curve right there, and the second curve right there. If you're putting money away for retirement, every time you put money in, if this is what's going on, you're buying more shares. Then just before you retire, the market goes up, you're really happy. If on the other hand, you keep paying a higher and higher price, and then the market goes down, you're really sad. And we can't choose what's going to happen with the market next. But what we can do is what we know through academic research, and there are Nobel Prizes awarded for this, is we can look for things that tend to move in dissimilar fashion. And what happens when we do that, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio, hence bringing those curves in. Now that's the idea. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Speculation on Russia's involvement in Wagner Group leader's death, a deadly shooting in Humphreys County, and the aftermath of last night's GOP debate. Those stories and more coming up at 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oliver Anthony's song, Richmond North of Richmond, is continuing to be a phenomenon we've not seen before. He's now, somebody called me up or wrote me a note one time just recently, said, well, you said it's at the top of the charts, and there's only one chart that matters, and that's the Hot 100, and he's not at the top of the Hot 100. And I said, no, he's, as I said, he's at the top of the iTunes chart at the time. Now he's at the top of the Hot 100 as well. This story I found from Breitbart, he's doing well, although he turned down, $1 million contracts. He's bringing in about $40,000 a day with this song. And I just added it up. That's $200,000 a week. That's, roughly $1 million a month, somewhere in the neighborhood of that, which means he can buy an awful lot of resonator guitars. Or maybe upgrade. I don't know, but he probably shouldn't change a thing because what he's got going is working. It is now 58 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let's talk about the Nashville Armory Ranges. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. 2 locations for your convenience. The Nashville Armory is at 4290 Killawood Drive in Nashville, over 15,000 square feet, which combines retail, classrooms, and, of course, pistol and rifle-rated ranges. So you can learn, you can become proficient, and you can stay that way. The second location is the Franklin Range at 390 Southwind Drive. There you'll find 10 state-of-the-art shooting ranges equipped with automated target control and custom shooting stalls that provide a virtual private shooting experience. The folks who work there pride themselves on being having the kind of expertise that they can advise even the most experienced shooters, but they also have the patience to guide those who are new to the 2A world. You're not going to find attitude, and you're not going to be hit with a bunch of pressure. Gunsmithing back at the Nashville Range. If you're buying your first gun or adding to the collection, you'll find a wide selection of new and pre-owned firearms, suppressors, optics, apparel, and shooting accessories. It's the place to buy. It's the place to train. It's the place to shoot. Learn more at armoryranges.com, and please tell them that your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 100 degrees. Got a heat advisory in effect for a large portion of the mid-state until tomorrow at 8 o'clock. An excessive heat warning for western portions of Middle Tennessee until 8 p.m. tomorrow. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. While there is speculation Russia may have had the head of the Wagner Group killed in a plane crash this week, the U.S. says it's still not sure why his plane went down over Russia yesterday. Andy Field.
The Pentagon reviewing all available information and so far concluding that regarding Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin's plane crash.
The press reporting stating that there was some type of surface-to-air missile that took down the plane, that we assess that information to be inaccurate.
Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Pat Ryder not saying if the U.S. thinks a planted bomb brought Prigozhin's plane down, or or even if this was a deliberate murder.
Right now in Tennessee, authorities are investigating a deadly shooting in Humphreys County. Channel 4 says an 18-year-old is in custody and charged with criminal homicide after investigators say he admitted to shooting his mother in the head and then trying to hide the body and evidence. The woman's body was found in a home just outside of McEwen, and that 18-year-old is now being held at the Humphreys County Jail on an $82,000 bond. And the first Republican presidential primary debate was last night. 8 candidates battled it out. Notably missing was the frontrunner, former President Donald Trump, who declined to participate. Karen Travers has details of how President Biden's campaign is responding to the first showdown on the GOP side.
President Biden's campaign says he's actually the winner of last night's Republican primary debate. Spokesman Kevin Munoz telling ABC News the candidates on stage and former President Donald Trump in his interview with Tucker Carlson were putting forward, quote, extreme out-of-touch positions.
When we look at the midterms, when we look at these special elections throughout 2023, Americans are heading to the ballot box on the Biden agenda. They are rejecting these attacks on abortion. They're rejecting these attacks on democracy. So we are going to continue focusing on the real things that Americans care about.
And some UT Vols news. Former head football coach and athletic director Philip Fulmer is currently hospitalized and will be for a few days for the Fulmer family says is a medical procedure. And they did mention that coach is in good spirits, but there were no further details on that operation. And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It is 6 minutes past. Make it 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. We're in hour number 3 on this show we call The Drive. We're going to get you home safely. We're going to give you some information, and you can walk in and you can say to the family, you're not going to believe what I learned today as I was coming home. Like, for example, that there are 6 people in Tennessee who apparently kissed a small turtle and got salmonella. I don't know how we missed that story. 6 people in Tennessee, according to the CDC, kissed their small turtle and ended up getting salmonella.
How many more kissed their turtle
and you know who you are out there.
Getting salmonella.
Yeah, we know you're out there. You know who you are.
You turtle kisser, you.
You turtle kissers, you. That's right. No, that's hilarious. I don't know. Apparently, it's a problem in Kentucky, too. But we're not going to talk about that. Oh. We're going to talk about the thing that everybody was talking about around the water cooler today, over if you had a moment to get a sandwich at lunch and you probably had some conversation. I know that Cabana Wife and I watched the debate last night, and we came away with our opinions, and we've been talking about it a lot, since that happened. So the question is, you had, well, let me just sort of lay out the caveats here. 8 people on the stage. Probably not any one of them is going to be the president of the United States, because Donald Trump leads everybody on that stage by 30 or 40 points, depending on which poll you look at. But I mean, these are almost, by modern traditional political standards, insurmountable lead that Donald Trump has. Now, something could change. A lot of things are out there on the horizon. We don't know what's going to happen. But right now, the expectation is that Donald Trump will be the nominee if everything stays as it is right now. But we had 8 people out there, and some of these people, we have a very deep bench. And I'd like to know what you thought about all this. So the phone lines are now open at 615-737-9986. I want to know who was the loser and who was the winner in your mind in last night's debate. Now, we'll talk more about Trump. Trump may have been the biggest winner because, well, he wasn't in the room. And his interview with Tucker Carlson, which we will also talk about later, and we've already talked about it earlier, he has like 230 million views of his interview with Tucker. So, I mean, I think we can all agree that Trump was the big winner by not being there. But, I mean, look at the rest of it. The idea here is, okay, you got 8 people up there on the stage. One of them could be a vice presidential, some members of the cabinet. Maybe, something happens and, one of these people has to stand up and be the nominee. I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? We can't predict the future. So, my question for you, and I really want you to weigh in here, who won, who lost? I'll give you mine because, I know people, will not call in sometimes until I lay out what I thought. I look at a debate like this and I say, okay, everybody on that stage, you sort of had an opinion of them. I think most of the people, there aren't many people out there by this point who are unknown to you. So, the debate in a situation like this is your ability to change people's perception in a more positive way, or perhaps if you're the loser, that, perhaps you did not change people's opinion. From that standpoint, and I'm going to just go ahead and put out the caveat here, I know he's probably not going to be the nominee. I'm pretty sure he won't be the nominee. And I'm pretty sure that he's not going to be a part of any Trump cabinet. But the person who was on that debate stage last night, who sort of rehabilitated himself a great deal, was Mike Pence. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the nominee. I'm not saying that but I think he rehabilitated his, and let me tell you why. At one point, every single person on the stage was asked, do you think Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th? Everybody said yes. You may have a different opinion, but that helped Mike Pence. Mike Pence had more airtime than anybody else because, well, he's an old debate hand. He knows what he's doing, and he knows how to, to get in there and worm his way into a conversation. And he got a lot more time on air than anybody else. To me, the loser, and again, there are no right or wrong opinions here. It's just your opinion. That's what I want to know. To me, the loser of the debate may have been Ramaswamy. And I'll tell you why. I think although he's quick and he's smart and he's fast, And a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but I think that he looked a little thin. In other words, there was a lot of gloss and a lot of polish, but was there any gravitas? Was there anything there that showed he had a deep understanding, for example, of foreign policy issues? And I think the case could be made that perhaps he did not. So again, I think the winner, from the standpoint of who rehabilitated themselves or changed their opinion, it was probably Pence. The loser in my mind was Ramaswamy, although a lot of people see it just exactly the other way. And I'll tell you who didn't make an impression, and very few people talked about him, and it was Ron DeSantis. He didn't really improve his situation. I don't think he hurt his situation. He's right there where he needs to be, but he has not been doing well in the polls of late. His numbers have started to soften. He's still way behind Trump, but now Ramaswamy seems to be the guy who's coming up a little faster. What did you think? Now we got that out of the way. 615-737-9986. Here we go to Jeff in White House. Jeff, good afternoon. You're on the drive with Brian. Who won, who lost last night in your estimate? Again, no wrong answers. It's just an opinion. What did you think?
It's MAGA 2024. I just watched that debate for entertainment, and I had Tucker and Trump on my phone watching it at the same time. We might have watched two different debates, but I liked Ramaswamy and what he said. He kind of mirrors a lot of Trump's policies. Pence was non-existent to me. The sanctimonious just repeated the same crap he always says. So I'm just MAGA 2024, and that's where it's going to be at.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, like I said, I think Trump will be the nominee, but it's an interesting exercise to find out what people thought. And again, I want to stress this: there are no wrong answers here. You are entitled to your opinion, whatever it is. 615-737-9986. Larry in Clarksville, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Larry? You're on with Brian on the drive. Who won and who lost last night, Larry?
Well, Brother Brian, and since we're on radio, I'm going to use air quotes. Chris Christie was the biggest loser, and I'll leave that at that.
Okay.
But I do disagree with you a little bit, sir, and I absolutely respect your take on D.C., and I appreciate your knowledge on the swamp.
Yeah.
Mike Pence could not get elected if he was the only one running.
I totally agree with you.
And, I know Ramaswamy has rubbed some people the wrong way, but I think the gentleman is, pretty darn smart, and I would love to see a Trump Ramaswamy ticket.
All right. Sounds good, Larry. Let's get some other folks in there. Brad in Gallatin. Brad, good afternoon. You're on the drive with Brian. Who won, who lost last night, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think Chris Christie lost. I think him and Asa Hutchinson. I think they're, for lack of a better way of putting it, Trump haters. And I was honestly surprised with Nikki Haley. Pleasantly surprised. I think she was passionate. I think she was smart. I think she had some common sense, or showed some common sense. Honestly, for me, up until she started passionately talking about sending more money to the Ukraine. I think Senator Scott, I think he kind of faded. I like him, but I think he kind of faded. And one person that I would like to hear more from, didn't get to hear much from him last night, is Doug Bargum. He seemed like an honest guy. I just don't know that much about him.
Yeah, I don't think he's got the name identification, but I don't think he hurt himself. I don't think he really helped himself. At least, he caught your eye, and then maybe that's the purpose of being on the stage. Again, I'm not saying, and I want everybody to understand, I'm not saying that any of these guys is going to be the nominee the way I see it right now. But it is interesting to find out, what everybody thought, because, I will say this, if that's our bench, I'm pretty pleased with our bench. We got a pretty deep bench. We got people we can turn to here, right? I mean, I think that's one thing that I learned last night. Michelle in Gallatin. Hello, Michelle. You're on with Brian on the Drive. Tell me what you think. Who won, who lost?
Hi, Brian. We had about 23 new voters last night all sitting and watching this, and they were taking notes and asking questions. When it got to the end of it, everyone kind of was of the same opinion. About half of them definitely lean more conservative, the other half more liberal. A lot of the conservative ones already going to vote for Trump, but they're saying we feel like it's our responsibility to listen to everyone just in case he's not on the ticket. None of them like Pence. They thought he was too slick, and they just didn't like him. They didn't get a good feeling from him. A lot of them liked Vivek and the stuff that he was saying, but then some of them perked up and said, it sounds like he's trying to, hey, look at me, I'm kind of like Donald Trump. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not in the swamp kind of thing. And they kind of like that. But then other ones, again, like I heard someone else saying earlier, maybe too much like Obama, and that kind of threw them off. I'm sorry, I don't know the other guys' names. The two older gentlemen, they did not like them. They did not want to go in any direction with too old of a president this time after what they've seen with Biden. And a lot of the girls liked Nikki just because she's a woman. And I'm like, okay, but, look at other stuff. I get it.
Sound like it was scattershot there in the room, and a lot of different opinions about that. I think that's what people are coming to the conclusion. Everybody's got a different idea here. I'm fascinated by this. I love these opinions. Keep them coming. Let's go to Ginger out on the road. Ginger, you're on with Brian on the Drive. Ginger, tell me, who you think won and who you think lost.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
I think the biggest losers were Pence and DeSantis. That was the first time I've ever heard DeSantis speak, and he sounded very much like a politician, and Pence is just too, I don't know, I just get a really bad vibe from him, too robotic or something. And then I don't know if very many people saw it this way, but I was very surprised with Nikki Haley, and then just in my opinion, and it is not because she's a woman, she was the winner in my opinion. I liked everything she said. She sounded down to earth and honest and real.
All right, Ginger, thank you so much for that opinion. I really appreciate it. Y'all stay right where you are. We've got some more lines. The lines are full. We got one line open. We'll take some more of your calls in just a moment. Right now, 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood have been around for over 25 years as an independent agency. Listen, it's a good thing to be an independent agency. Let me tell you why. First of all, they're not so big that they can't give you good customer service. In fact, if you call their number, 615-329-8121, you won't reach a call center. You'll reach an actual person every single time. You won't get the recording that your call is important to them. You'll actually talk to a person. That's right. And so that's one thing. The other side of it is because they're an independent agent, they can shop around. They don't have to, try to put a square peg in a round hole. They can give you something that better fits your actual needs, and you get a lot of bang for your buck that way. Multi-policy discounts can save you a lot of money, 20, 25, 30, 35%. Huge savings. So what you need to do is call that number, 615-329-8121, or just log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com, and get your royal review. King Insurance and Associates, royal treatment and really great rates.
More on the deadly fires on Maui. Former President Trump to be booked into the Fulton County Jail at 6:30 Tennessee time, Middle Tennessee time. And some money news concerning an e-cigarette company. I'll have those stories and more at 5:30. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have shows in the pointless.
I mean, Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley got into it, last night about Ukraine and about foreign policy and Israel and the whole 9 yards there. It was a feisty little debate. Again, I don't think anybody on the stage is likely to become the nominee. I think we all know who the nominee is going to be. It's going to be a guy who wasn't in the room. He was the elephant not in the room. But the question is, who won the debate? And who improved their situation? Who walked away with perhaps not as good a situation as they entered the debate room with? Who was the winner? Who was the loser? Let me go to Phil, who's been waiting so patiently in Murfreesboro. Phil, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Phil?
Hey, it's Bill.
I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for taking my call. One thing, that kept on coming up in the debate last night was Ramaswamy's lack of foreign policy or lack of government experience. We have to remember that Mr. Obama was a junior senator, I believe, when he announced his, wanting to run for the presidency. And he had very little experience, and he's the Democrats' golden boy now. So I think Mr. Ramaswamy could pull it off.
Okay, so you like Ramaswamy, right?
Sure I do. Yep, exactly. I like his attitude.
And who did you not like on the debate stage last night?
Mr. Christie. He's just acting like a bully.
Yeah, well, with Chris Christie, you get what you get. I mean, that's Chris Christie right there. All right, well, listen, Phil, thank you so much for your opinions. How about, let's go back up here to Jeremy in Hillsboro. Jeremy, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. Who won, who lost last night, in your opinion?
Hey, good evening, Brian, and thanks for your time. In my opinion, I think that Trump won, even though he wasn't in it. But now, second to him, if I could pick any vice president, I would say that Swamy, he really impressed me. I thought he won the debate out of all of them. And Pence just sounded like a career politician. He'll talk for 90 seconds and not say anything. Chris Christie, he come across as a bully. So I would love to see Trump and
Ramaswamy.
What's his name? Yeah, I would love to see him. And DeSantis, I was so excited when he announced he was going to win. But it's like the more he talks, he just doesn't really have any zing. He doesn't have that it factor like he can get it done, in my opinion.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I don't think that DeSantis hurt himself last night, but he certainly seemed to be, sitting back on his heels. I mean, sometimes you just want to get through a debate and not make any mistakes. But DeSantis, I don't think he improved his situation. I don't think he hurt his situation. I think he's the same, but he needed a breakout moment because his numbers are starting to get a little soft. As people have mentioned, a lot of folks are liking Ramaswamy. And again, I don't think Ramaswamy is going to be the nominee, but he could be a running mate. He could be in the cabinet. So the question is, who actually improved their situation and who walked away perhaps with a situation that is not as good as when they entered the debate arena. Let's go to Danny in Lebanon. Danny, you're on with Brian on the drive.
Good afternoon. The Ramaswamy, he's very intelligent, and I think if he was to be put on in the cabinet and come back in 4 years after he was educated, he's rough around the edges, but other than that, he's got great policies. But Chris Christie, he's out. He wasn't even in it to win it to begin with. He was just there to take points from Trump because he's had that to begin with. But I really like Ramaswamy. I think he just needs brushed up around the edges, gets a little educated, and come back in 4 years. I think he might have a shot.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. I mean, whoever becomes Trump's running mate has a leg up because Trump, if Trump wins, Trump can only serve 4 more years. So the vice president under Trump could well have a leg up in the next election cycle. And so, that's something to think about as you look at this particular cast of characters that showed up on stage last night. Let's go to, real quick, James on the road. James, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, James?
Hey, Brian. Hey, I wasn't able to watch but about a half hour of it because between Christie and Pence, it just disgusted me. But I'm thinking that the only one besides Christie that's not up there to win it is Ramaswamy. He's up there to improve his chances to become the vice president to Donald Trump.
Yeah. And are you okay with that or not okay with that?
Oh yeah. I mean, from what I heard of him, he sounds like he's got the country's right. He's got the country's best interest in mind. He's not there for himself.
You might be right. I think right now, if you twisted my elbow and you said who's going to be Trump's running mate, I think it's likely to be somebody who was not on the stage last night. I think it could well be Kari Lake. I think it might be Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota. When she's not out, doing plumbing and electrical work, she might make a pretty good running mate. I don't know. That's my sense of it. I think if you look at Trump and Kari Lake, they're two peas in a pod. And everybody else. Ramaswamy, though, I'm telling you, so far, a lot of very positive things about Ramaswamy. Look, the phone lines are just on fire. So let's continue this after the news. It's 31 minutes now past the hour.
.531, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 97 degrees. Heat advisory ending tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. An official cause of the deadly wildfire in Maui that killed at least 115 people has not yet officially been determined, yet lawsuits are already being filed against the electric company, including one now from the local government. Alex Stone.
In a new lawsuit, Maui County is suing Hawaiian Electric Company and others alleging negligence for failing to de-energize power lines despite red flag fire warnings on the day the wildfire broke out, an 80-mile-an-hour wind. The lawsuit claims the company's energized lines went down and started the wildfires that broke out. States like California now routinely and controversially turn off the electricity when strong wind moves in to prevent wildfires if lines go down. Hawaii does not do that. Hawaiian Electric Company has said previously it cannot comment on pending litigation.
Now news with former President Trump, who's heading to the Fulton County Jail to be booked on Georgia election interference charges. Mr. Trump will be processed like any other criminal suspect with some exceptions. Former Georgia prosecutor Chris Timmons says, don't expect the former president to be sitting in a general population waiting cell.
That's just not going to happen. That can't happen. You can't both have a functioning jail and have a normal process for the former president of the United States.
The former president set to be booked at 6:30 Middle Tennessee time. Money news, fighting to keep its products on store shelves. E-cigarette maker Juul plans to cut about 30% of its workforce, reducing the company's headcount to about 650. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also how we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime.
Can I
across
speak
this
on behalf
country.
of the American people really quickly? Governor DeSantis.
We don't have an identity crisis, Vivek. We're not looking for a new national identity. The American people are the most faith-filled, freedom-loving, idealistic, hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference.
Well, there you go. I mean, a little sample of it from last night. We would like to play a lot more sound, but the folks at Fox have put real limitations on exactly how much sound we can play here for you. But nonetheless, a lot of people watched the debate last night. Perhaps not as many as who watched Tucker and Donald Trump, because that's well in excess of 200 million views so far. But our question is, with this debate that was going on, everybody has an opinion, and there are no wrong answers here. Everybody's got it entitled to their own opinion, but you saw 8 people. Some of them might be running mates. Some of them might serve on a cabinet. Some of them might be here in years to go forward as a candidate. Who won? Who lost? And were there any surprises for you? We don't normally do this for a full hour, but the opinions are so hot and the phones are on fire, so we'll just go ahead and do it for a little while longer, all the way to the top of the hour. We start with Jeff in Nashville. Jeff, good afternoon. You're on with Brian, or good evening. I guess it's getting close. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Jeff?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, and I'll listen to your take on it. I think Ramaswamy, he checks all the boxes and says all the right things, but I'm almost wondering if he's not a Democrat insert with Soros paying for his schooling, and I'll listen in.
All right. Listen, the thing about Soros, I want to do a little more research on it. I mean, it was not George Soros. It was another foundation, as I understand it, that's maybe Soros's brother. I'm not sure. But it was an educational grant, is what I understand. Not anything that is like a gift to the campaign. But we'll dig into that. I promise you in the days ahead.
It was a scholarship when he was 25.
Scholarship. That was my memory.
Yeah,
Thank
25 years old.
All right. He was 25 years old. And he's 38 now.
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about. Ronnie in Murfreesboro, you're up next on the Drive. Ronnie, who won? Who lost?
Hey, Brian, love your show, man.
Thank you.
I've got a few comments. I think Ramaswamy probably won because he gained all the attention from all the other people. With that said, I don't think any of them can hang with Trump, and I really don't see any of them on stage being Trump's second person. I really think that we really kind of snubbed the two minority guys that were running with Tim Scott. He only got like 7 minutes, and then Larry Elder wasn't allowed on stage, so I really hated to see that. Yeah. I think just throwing my 2 cents in for VP for Trump would be somebody like Larry Elder, who is well-spoken and a really brilliant man, or somebody like Mike Huckabee, who's a really good advocate for Trump. And then one last comment. I think when Trump goes to the Fulton County Jail tonight, he should just stay there. Tell them to keep him. Don't post bond. Just stay there and let the Democrats have what they want and see how everything comes out.
All right.
Thank you.
It might be an interesting out there. Okay, thank you, Ronnie. A lot of ground covered there. David in Nashville. David, you're on with Brian. The debate last night, who won, who lost, and were there any surprises for you? David?
No surprises for me. I like Ramaswamy as a VP. You know, he's smart off the cuff with his answers, but he doesn't really have the track record that Trump has, and he literally supported everything that Trump did already. He does need to clear up that association with Paul Soros and his fellowship, though. I think that, like you said, that needs to be looked into. And one last point, if I could, we can thank Harris for her disastrous job in giving Trump the opening to pick another male VP. But I do agree with you about Kari Lake.
but please don't rule out Tulsi Gabbard either.
No. There's a name that gets bounced around a lot. David, thank you. I mean, again, I love these opinions. And again, there's no wrong or right opinion. Everybody, watched it and is entitled to come up with whatever they think. I'm just fascinated. Ramaswamy, I'm going to say this. We did this earlier in the 3 o'clock hour, and the same thing happened. A lot of people really like Ramaswamy. Aubrey is in Murfreesboro. Aubrey, you're up next on the drive. Who do you think won? Who do you think lost the big debate?
Okay, Brian. Honestly, I did not watch it because I thought it was going to be a waste of time because I didn't think any of the ones up there would ever be even considered for president. I think that Trump will be because of what job interview we've already had with him. I did watch the Tucker and Trump on X or Twitter, as you say, and I was impressed with Trump because that is the Trump that I know.
Yeah.
The bombastic Trump is just something I think that he did to relate to the people because he is one of us. He truly showed that. But
Aubrey, I totally agree with you. Hold on, Aubrey, because I want to stay on the debate, but I agree with you about Trump. I thought his responses were measured, maybe a little dialed back from what we have seen in the past. I think it was a good performance by him. But let's move on. Brian in Winchester, you're on with Brian on the drive. Who won? Who lost last night in your estimation there, Brian?
I would say the loser would be Mike Pence, just because he's really robotic and he kind of makes himself come off as an established politician, which is what most conservatives are against. That's why everybody's going towards Trump. I say the big winner was Donald Trump, just because of the viewership and just because of his decision to not go on there. I also think a loser would be Ron DeSantis. I was kind of hoping he would not run for president this time around and maybe go the next go around, or at least try to be a VP pick for Trump. I think he's kind of ruined that. But I do like what you said earlier. Kristi Noem would be a great VP for Trump.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know that anybody on that stage, maybe with Ramaswamy's surge. I mean, look, what'll be interesting to see, we've heard a lot of people talk about Ramaswamy in a very positive way here on this program. I mean, that's the trend that I'm detecting. And a lot of folks saying, he sort of impressed me. Now, is he going to be the nominee? No. Could he be a running mate? Maybe. And then he would be 4 years in office to get ready to run as the president again. I think that's an interesting thing. But I think Trump likes Kari Lake a lot. That's my sense of it. I don't have any inside information. He has also said, by the way, he likes Ramaswamy and he thinks that Rick Scott is somebody who's done a pretty good job. That's something he said on the record recently. Monica, in coming to us from White House. Hello, Monica. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
Emily's not here. Hello?
Monica, you're up.
Yes. Hey, I think the moderators played them all and set them all up to trash Trump, and I think all but one fell for it. But I think Vivek and Trump's personalities would clash. And I know neither of them have a snowball's chance, but I loved Tim Scott and the governor of North Dakota.
I'm sorry, yeah, the last part, the Tim Scott and?
The governor of North Dakota.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Kristi Noem. Oh, no, Burgum from North Dakota, not South Dakota. Yeah. Right, okay. Thank you. Appreciate it, Monica. Well, let's go to Rick out on the road. Rick, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Rick?
Hey, Brian, first-time caller. I think that President Trump is looking for an alpha male or a female that's going to be to his equal. My point is, I think Judge Jeanine Pirro will be a great vice president candidate.
Okay.
So what do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know what her. I mean, I see her on TV. She's 72 years old. So there's that. How old would she be in 4 years? She'd be 76 years old. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not sure that that's probably something that was going to fly. I know a lot of people really love her, though. They really do. Okay. So I got a little more time here. So I'm going to play out this soundbite. This is a long cut, about as much as Fox will let us play, because they're being stingy with their sound, where a lot of people weighed in on how we solve our crime problem. We'll end with this tonight.
Each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And
Chris
when
Christie.
Hunter Biden fills out a fake application, a false application for a gun permit, and then is facing a 10-year mandatory minimum, which was mandated by legislation sponsored by his father. And then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges. We're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
What about a President Ramaswamy? What does a President Ramaswamy do about guns?
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country, and we know how to fix it. The question is, do we actually have the spine to do it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued. And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country. Just over the same period that we have closed mental health institutions, we have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will. But it's not just drugging up people in those psychiatric institutions with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here, too. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation. The problem in our country right now, the reason we have that mental health epidemic, is that people are so hungry for purpose and meaning at a time when family, faith, patriotism, hard work have all disappeared. What we really need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also how we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime across this country.
Governor DeSantis, really quickly. Governor DeSantis.
We don't have an identity crisis with that. We're not looking for a new
This is where
national
Pence
identity.
just jumped
American
in.
People are the most faith-filled, freedom-loving, idealistic, hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have, some others like you may have on the stage, it's Morning in America speech. It is not Morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the fact that we're in an internal, sort of cold cultural civil
You
war.
are
And we have to
equating the
recognize
American
that
people with the failed government in Washington, D.C. We just need government as good as our people again.
Crime has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis. How do you stop crime?
Well, actually, crime's at a 50-year low in Florida.
Not in Miami.
We're happy with that. Well, the statewide, it's a 50-year low. And so here's the thing. These hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these radical left-wing district attorneys. They get into office and they say they're not going to prosecute crimes they disagree with. The inmates start running the asylum. There's one guy in this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had two of these district attorneys in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their job, I removed them from their posts. They are gone.
Well, there's a sample of the bench and we got a deep bench out there. Last night's debate. It is now 52 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Well, you've heard me talk about Stoltz Co., and if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltz Co. are the guys you need to talk to. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltz Co. difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can be a classic tool or work barn. It can be a garage. It can even be a place to live. Flexibility is key. What they do is they combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. So why don't you go to their website, stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO.com, and look at some of the barns that they have on display there. I think you'll find very quickly this ain't your grandpappy's pole barn. It isn't anything but. 615-622-5992. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. We know that diversification is an important part of the investing process, but how do you reduce risk of a portfolio through diversification? Well, you use correlations. Now think of bathing suit sales and suntan oil sales. They tend to move together, right? Think of bathing suit sales versus winter coat sales. More dissimilar movement, and that's the idea. But why is diversification so important? Well, think about it this way. Everybody would like to have this happen with their investments. They just go straight up. But what we know is this is really what tends to happen. Markets may go way up and then down, or down then way up. Now let's say if we isolate parts of that curve right there, and the first curve right there, and the second curve right there. If you're putting money away for retirement, every time you put money in, if this is what's going on, you're buying more shares. Then just before you retire, the market goes up, you're really happy. If, on the other hand, you keep paying a higher and higher price and then the market goes down, you're really sad. And we can't choose what's going to happen with the market next. But what we can do is what we know through academic research, and there are Nobel Prizes awarded for this, is we can look for things that tend to move in dissimilar fashion. And what happens when we do that, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio, hence bringing those curves in. Now that's the idea. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
I know you've heard me talk about DT McCall's. What a great company it is. Been around in Middle Tennessee for more than 100 years. Now, you just don't get to last that long as a company if you don't have a reputation for treating people right. If you've got to treat people right, or they just will go elsewhere. And so I think this is evidence of the fact that you're going to get a good deal with DT McCall's. Now, here's an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about. How many times have you purchased an appliance at a big box store, perhaps? And then they say, well, here's your price. And you go, well, initially that sounds like a pretty good price, right? Well, then they ask you, well, do you want the cords and the hoses? Well, of course you want the cords and hoses. Do you want to pay extra for delivery? Well, you want it delivered, so I guess you will. What about the old thing? Do you want it hauled away? Yep, I definitely do. Well, by the time they add in all those extra charges, you're going to find out that wasn't such a good deal after all. At DT McCall's, you get a good price, but it's an honest price. The free delivery, free setup, and free haul, it's all included in that price. They're not going to mess around. They're not going to jerk you around. You're going to have a good experience at DT McCall's. And whenever possible, DT McCall tries to sell products that are made and manufactured in Middle Tennessee. Find out about their 5 convenient locations and all the things they can do for you by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
.601, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories right now. 97 degrees. Got a forecast, latest traffic report upcoming. Former President Donald Trump set to land in Georgia any moment now to report to jail in his election interference case. This will be at the Fulton County Jail. Olivia Ruman is outside the courthouse ahead of Trump's booking.
When the president is not surrounded by his supporters, that is when it becomes very clear that it is difficult. We have seen him, look down at the floor, shaking his head, quiet and reserved. And so that is what the former president is going to undergo today when he gets to the jail, unlike we see of him publicly.
Maui County now suing the island's power company, claiming the company's actions allowed wildfires to explode on the island this month. The one that hit Lahaina killed at least 115 people. Here's Alex Stone.
Claiming Hawaiian Electric was negligent for not de-energizing power lines when 80-mile-an-hour wind moved in and during red flag fire warnings. The new lawsuit claims the energized lines went down and started the wildfires that broke out on Maui. No official cause has been determined yet, but from the start, images of downed power lines led many to believe that's how the fires started. Hawaiian Electric has said previously it cannot comment on pending litigation. States like California now routinely turn off the power when it gets windy to prevent wildfires. Hawaii doesn't do that.
Here in Tennessee, it's extremely hot this week, as we've covered. Heat advisory in effect until tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And Nashville is said to be considered a heat island where concrete and pavement trap the heat. Now, NDOT's trying a new pilot program to fix the issue, but Channel 4's Brendan Tierney says they aren't doing what you think they might be doing.
This lighter gray stretch of 5th Street here in East Nashville has been covered with this reflective sealant that's supposed to keep the temperature of the road about 10 degrees cooler. But an Arizona State University study into the product down there found that the heat is bounced right back at people. It makes them feel 5.5 degrees hotter than standing next to the normal pavement. NDOT says they knew about this research before trying out the cool pavement and says their goal is to go beyond making it feel cooler.
They want to see a 5 to 10 degree decrease in the surface temperature, which is not what people are feeling in the air. Right now, they're about halfway through that 3-month pilot program. And right now, Donald Trump landing as we speak on the tarmac over there in Fulton County, Georgia, as he prepares for historic 4th arrest. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It is 6:07 in Nashville. It is 7:07 in Atlanta. That's because, and we care about that because at this very moment, Trump Force One is landing at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, and in the next few minutes, Donald Trump will be making his way downtown for his arraignment on the fourth round of indictments that have been brought against him. 91 different counts now pending, and this one is going to be just a little bit different as he makes his way downtown. I think probably why so late in the day. I'm almost certain that this was negotiated because of the traffic in Atlanta, which will start to, it should be starting to wind down in Atlanta in late August. I would say it would be winding down at this time, and it's a short, real trip over to the downtown area, especially if you have a motorcade. But Trump Force One has now landed. They're pulling up the stairs, and we should see Trump get into a car pretty quickly and begin this whole process. While we're waiting for more information, I do want to play out some of the things that Trump talked about last night in his that interview that we did with Tucker Carlson that was released at the same time the debate was going on. And we'll have a lot of time to talk about what's going on with Donald Trump and why this one is a little different. But let's listen now to some of the things. One of the things that Trump said, and by the way, I really loved his approach to the interview with Tucker Carlson last night, was that he really thinks that the current president of the United States is somewhat compromised by his relationship with China. Here we go.
When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense. Bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax. I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes. And he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette at Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. And he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
So who is
I
running the
actually
government?
believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because, keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate.
Well, there is Donald Trump last night with Tucker. The other thing I like about this soundbite is that what it seems like Trump has gotten some media training. And look, I've always said this about Trump. I think Trump's policies were great. I think the thing about Trump is that his sometimes he gets a little too carried away in interviews, and he needs to have a little more discipline about the way he does them. Here, he seems to have dialed it back just a little bit. I think it's just the right tone. I mean, I'm many things, but I'm an analyst, a recovering journalist, and I think that, but most of all, I study the world of communications and how people communicate effectively, and this is very effective. This is the tone and the tenor that you need. We are taking. Let me look up right here. Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. It is now 7:10 there. And Trump Force One has landed, and now we are waiting for Donald Trump to emerge from his airport. And so you guys may have a little quicker feed than I have from my studio, but he should be getting out any moment now, getting into a motorcade and heading down for this arraignment. What do you see from your vantage point there, Mac?
Yeah, doors are open, and it looks like sunny blue skies in Fulton County, and former president set to step out. Looks like any moment here. And, I mean, I don't know how far this is away from the jail, but I imagine we're a little bit behind the original 6:30 Middle Tennessee time booking schedule.
Maybe not. With a motorcade,
You're right.
You can really make
That's
some
true.
time. And I don't think downtown's that far. My memory is that downtown is not particularly that far from Hartsfield-Jackson. It's a few minutes, but again, we may be a little bit behind schedule. But the idea was that he would begin his arraignment at the courthouse or at the sheriff's office right around 7:30 Eastern time, 6:30 Middle Tennessee time. While we're waiting, here's a little bit more of Trump talking to Tucker about Kamala Harris.
So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's.
I mean, the question really here is, what if Biden can't make it as the nominee? Something happens. What happens then?
So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons, the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird. It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you...
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And I think they probably have some kind of a primary and other people will get involved.
Newsom, right? I mean,
could be. I mean, I always got along well with him, believe it or not. But could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care.
Well, anyway, that's a little bit of Trump last night. By the way, if you're wondering how his thing with Tucker Carlson compared to the debate, he had about more than 220 million views. What do you got there, Mac?
Yeah, he just former President Donald Trump has just walked out at the doors of the plane. Gave a good thumbs up, multiple thumbs up to reporters and anyone else surrounding the tarmac there, and has now entered the motorcade, and I assume directly on the way to the Fulton County Courthouse.
Brian, and I looked up the Google Maps info for the trip from Hartsfield Jackson to the Fulton County Jail. It's a 14-mile journey. But right now, there is some heavy traffic in downtown, and it says 33 minutes. So it's like maybe a half hour even with the motorcade.
Yeah, you wonder how much of that heavy traffic is because they're making way for the motorcade, or whether it's just regular Atlanta traffic, which
true. Yeah.
On a good day is bad.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking now. Yeah, I see that he's getting into the motorcade and headed that way. So we're headed. We're hoping that this will all start to take place about 6:30. Sounds like it might be about 6:45. I don't know. But one way or the other, the process has begun. What do we know about it? We know that there's a crowd outside. We know that apparently, the last I have read, and I've been trying to stay abreast of this all afternoon long, he will have to take the mugshot. The mugshot is not much of a mugshot. I mean, when I think of a mugshot, I think of, standing in front of a thing that shows how tall you are, and you're holding a little card with your inmate number, and sometimes you're in the jail fatigues and all of that kind of stuff. None of that. It's actually a pretty bland background. It's just a picture. Why is this even necessary? Is there anybody in the world who doesn't know what Donald Trump looks like? But, they want to make sure that they're following. This is meant to embarrass the president. I guarantee you, when you see this shot, he's going to be smiling ear to ear, not a worry in the world. He will be in this process. Apparently, he's going to have to put up a $200,000 bond. And this whole process will not take, I think, once he gets there, very long. There will be a crowd to greet him there just outside the Fulton County Jail. Some of them, we didn't know exactly what time this was going to take place. Some of them have been there since early morning.
Whew.
Yeah, in 100-degree heat. I mean, I don't know what the high was today in Atlanta, but it's not much different than the high today here in Nashville, and we hit triple digits. So maybe when they found out what time he was coming, they decided to go find some shade, get a nice cool drink of water, and come back later. So this is all happening. Let's see what I've got here. Oh, yeah. This story has to do with when the trial on this might actually begin. Fannie Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, who has been the subject of many attacks by Donald Trump, asked the judge to schedule the start of the trial against former President Trump and all 18 co-defendants for October 23rd of this year. Now, that is for 18 co-defendants, 19 people being, brought up on RICO charges. That's a pretty aggressive start. I don't know that they'll make that. There was a request by defendant Kenneth Chesbrough Wednesday for a speedy trial, and Willis asked for all defendants to be tried in October. Willis had originally asked the judge to set March 4th, 2024 as the trial date for Trump and his 18 supporters who are accused of trying to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. But that is, March 4th, 2024 would be right in the middle of the primary process. I mean, that'd be not long after the Iowa caucuses. This would be the day before, I think, Super Tuesday. So, that's never going to fly. And I don't know when they're going to try the thing. I don't know whether the Trump people want to get it over with early or they want to let it, play out. But it seems to me it's in their best interest to get it over with or to push it way beyond the election cycle. And I don't know that the judge is going to go for that or the prosecutor either. But here's what I think is going to happen. As I look, the motorcade now en route to the Georgia jail for this arraignment. Here's what I think is likely to happen. I don't think that much of what has been leveled against Trump here and this bizarre case is going to withstand once good lawyers get involved. By the way, Trump changed his legal team today and has a whole new legal team that is now supporting him and will be making their first appearance in court today. One of the things that I think is likely to happen here is that there'll be pretrial motions. I mean, Mark Meadows has already filed about 6, and I think Trump's team, now that they're sort of getting organized, will come in behind them with a bunch of different pretrial motions. And I'm not sure that any of this withstands some of these pretrial processes if the judge is open and honest about all this, because I mean, a very strong case can be made that basically what happened here is Trump was using his words, which is political speech. Is it a wrong thing to call somebody up and say, hey, we're hearing about some irregularities. What can you tell me about it? I mean, we're about 11,000 votes short. What's going on there? And is there anything going on based on these rumors that we're hearing? Nothing wrong with that. As far as I can tell, it's political speech. And the high court has ruled on many occasions that, speech is protected, but the most important kind of speech when it comes to protections is political speech. It's the most important thing. The most important kind of speech you can perhaps have is politically based speech. The judges may get a lot of this dismissed and thrown out, but that takes a little while. At the end of the day, will they be able to get it all thrown out? No. Will they be able to get rid of the prosecutor who has shown animus toward Trump? Probably not. But they'll do their very best to get a change of venue, etc. I don't know at the end of the day whether much of this stuff actually survives and he actually goes to trial on some of the counts that he's going to be arraigned on here in just a few minutes. Look, and we're running late, so let me just go ahead and say it's 21 minutes past the hour, 22 minutes past the hour, and you're listening to Super Talk 99.7. All right, let's talk about Rhino Shield. If you're going to paint your house, I'm going to beg you to stop. Don't paint your house. You say, what's wrong with you, Wilson? My house needs a paint job. Well, okay, you could paint it, and that'll be fine. But then paint's going to do what paint does. It's going to crack, it's going to peel, it's going to chip, and before long, you'll have to paint again. But if you called the folks at Rhino Shield, you wouldn't have to think about painting your house for another 25 years, a full quarter century. Rhino Shield is not paint. It's 10 times thicker than paint. It's infused with special 3M ingredients, billions of microspheres that allow the coating to expand and contract. And that's why they offer a 25-year warranty against cracking, chipping, and peeling. Now, Clay Morris and the folks at Rhino Shield of Nashville have a great reputation. They care deeply about about doing good quality work. You've heard from Amanda, who said her home turned out beautifully. You've heard from Joan P., who said that the work was outstanding. You've heard me talk about my personal friends, the Garretts, who heard this ad and decided to try it on their country home that's over 100 years old, and they're just crazy about the results, so much so that they are thinking about having several other projects taken up by the folks at Rhino Shield. Sound like something you'd be interested in? Give Clay Morris a call, 615-474-1729. Learn more at rhinoshieldnashville.com.
Right now, former President Donald Trump en route to the Georgia jail for his fourth arrest, and we'll have today's closing money news report. That and more coming up 6:30 right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. This reminds me of the old White House motorcades. There's actually a press van, and, the modern technology that TV people have is quite amazing because, all you need apparently now is a cell phone connection to send video back. A really high quality video, and they've got a camera inside the motorcade. And right now, I mean, the roads are completely clear, which may explain why there's some traffic delays there, because the police have cleared the road for the motorcade, and they're already pulling into the downtown area, which means they covered something like 14 miles in pretty short order.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not messing around, and they'll be downtown before long. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in the motorcade as it goes. So this thing is going to happen. I think not exactly on time because we're only 3 minutes away from what would be 7:30, 6:30 our time. So I don't think it's going to happen real quick.
I'm seeing, Brian, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I heard you talking earlier about the process and how it should go fairly quickly. I'm seeing estimations should be in and out 20 minutes.
Yeah. And there's going to be some people out there showing support. There may be some people out there protesting, but it's just a formality. That just like we've seen another time. Now, occasionally he will send out one of his attorneys, but since there's been sort of a reshuffling of his legal team, I'm not sure that's going to happen today. It'll be interesting to see, what becomes of it. But look, honestly, Donald Trump is not like any other politician that we've ever encountered in the world ever. I mean, here's a guy who, can get indicted and his numbers go up. Here's a guy who's got 91. By the time it's all said, there are 91 counts against him. And normally that would be in most situations enough to take a guy out of commission as a political candidate. But here in this weird world that we're in right now, every time he gets indicted, the general sense is, and I'm completely on board with this thought, that what you're doing is that you are using a two-tier justice system, and this is all a bunch of BS, and that it really doesn't add up to much of anything. It's just that the Democrats are so fearful of Donald Trump that they have to indict him, and Republicans respond by just going to him in bigger numbers. I mean, the CBS poll showed that 62% of Republicans say they will vote for Trump. And then there are a huge number of them that say, if he's in jail, I'll still vote for him. So, it's a different thing with Donald Trump. And these numbers, will go up instead of go down. So, again, none of this stuff, not one bit of it, do I think is likely to have an impact on his him becoming the eventual nominee of the Republican Party, which, it's just, if you compare this to any other time in American history, remarkable. Donald Trump has rewritten the rules time and time again, and he's done it this time as well. Again, the pictures, it's just about 7:29 there in Atlanta. They're getting very, very close to getting to the Fulton County Jail, and they'll be in and out, as you said, in about 20 minutes. Right now, let's call it 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 97 degrees, heat advisory ending tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Forecast, latest traffic report upcoming. And we are watching right now Donald Trump in the 6-car motorcade en route to the Georgia jail for a historic 4th arrest. And Donald Trump was only expected to be inside the county jail for mere minutes to fingerprint him, and his first mugshot will be taken. Aaron Katursky gives us more outside the Fulton County Jail.
So when will these trials begin? The district attorney, Fonnie Willis, wants to try Trump and his 18 co-defendants together, but that's in doubt. One defendant, lawyer Kenneth Chesbrough, asked for a speedy trial, and the judge agreed, setting a date of October 23rd, less than 2 months from now. Trump's lawyers quickly weighing in, saying that's way too early to put the former president on trial.
And multiple new lawyers have been hired by Donald Trump for this specific case, and says the booking process should go fairly quickly, around 20 minutes total, and the former president's bond is $200,000. Did hire a bondsman to help him deal with that. And right now seeing a few dozen supporters as well as a few protesters as well outside that Fulton County Courthouse. We'll keep you updated with that right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Taking you a trip to some money news. Daria Albinger.
Up one day, down the next. The Dow gave up 374 points. The Nasdaq fell 257. And after a strong start, the S&P closed down 60. Stocks tumbled ahead of a highly anticipated speech from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. He'll give it at an annual conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which has been the site of some of the Fed's most important announcements. The markets are also reacting to some mixed reports on the economy. One showed fewer U.S. workers filed for unemployment benefits last week. It was the second drop in as many weeks. It's also the latest sign that the job market is still remarkably resilient despite persistently high inflation. The other report said orders for long-lasting goods fell by more last month than economists predicted. It could be a signal of worsening conditions for the manufacturing sector. If you take out airplanes and other transportation equipment, though, orders for durable goods actually rose more than expected.
And the motorcade now rolling up and getting set in place to park as Donald Trump will exit and enter the Fulton County Courthouse for his fourth indictment and fourth arrest. Again, a mugshot is supposed to be taken. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, if you have the desire to add gold or silver to your portfolio, listen up. I want to tell you about Nashville Gold and Coin. If you're looking to buy real, actual, hold it in your hand, gold, silver, or bullion, let me tell you, this is the place I do business. This is the place I recommend. You'll get honest, friendly customer service and actually, during the process, a real precious metals education. They specialize in buying, selling, and appraising of coins. I mean, do you have any idea how much of those old coins you have laying around might be worth? I'm going to tell you my experience. Had a few silver coins in a shoebox, been in my sock drawer forever. I pulled it out, took it down there. It turned out to be worth $1,652. You'd be surprised what those old coins might be worth. Whether you're in the market to purchase precious metals or just want to find out what those coins in your closet might be worth, schedule a one-on-one consultation today. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. 6:37 now in Nashville, 7:37 in Atlanta, Hartsfield, well, actually downtown Atlanta, where Donald Trump has now arrived at the Fulton County Jail to have his mugshot taken and to be officially arraigned. There's probably, I would say between, Chris, what would you say, 15 to 20 motorcycles at the front of this this motorcade, and maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20 different vehicles that are part of the motorcade. This is, and they zipped on down from Atlanta, Hartfield, Jackson, all the way to the downtown area in pretty record time. Roads were cleared, as often is the case for when you have a president or former presidential movement around a city. And so it's going to be 20 minutes. He's in and out, and I don't know that we're going to actually hear much from them. I think they'll just get back in the motorcade and head back to Bedford, New Jersey, is what it sounds like to me.
It is kind of what it's looking like, and it's interesting because they pulled into the facility, and it's a gated, it's a jail. I mean, so it does have the gates around it, and the motorcade pulled under this, covered area. Yeah. The covered entrance, so I'm not even sure we're going to be able to see him come in or out.
I think they call that, for some reason, my memory is, they call that a sally port.
Okay. All right.
Look it up, but I think that's what they call it. Most buildings like this have a sally port, and he's in the door. You really can't see much, because it's like a big carport.
Yeah.
But that's where people will go in and to begin the process. So, that's, I don't know. I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot more other than perhaps him waving at cameras. Occasionally, he'll send out one of his attorneys to talk to reporters, and the reporters that are covering the event are on the outside of the jail and the front of the jail, but there is a contingent of reporters in the motorcade. Now, will they be brought out, and will the attorney say anything? Will there be any sign? I don't know. We'll try to keep an eye on it. But you know what? With all this stuff going on, I don't want to pass over the fact that there are other things happening on the other side of the equation when it has to do with Joe Biden. We're continuing. I mean, it's hard to imagine, but we're continuing every day to get a drip, drip, drip of information that continues to raise questions about Joe Biden and whether he acted improperly. And if there's anything, by the way, Chris, just wave at me and we'll go back. We'll go back to it, okay? Or just pull it up and let me know. But there's all kinds of stuff going on. Here is the latest story from the DailyWire.com. An Obama administration task force determined in late 2015 that Ukraine merited a $1 billion loan guarantee before then Vice President Joe Biden leveraged the aid to oust a controversial prosecutor. The task force, made up of officials from the Department of Justice, State, and Treasury, said that Ukraine had made sufficient progress toward combating corruption to merit a third $1 billion loan guarantee, according to a memo obtained by Just the News. Weeks later, Biden used the offer to force Ukraine to oust its top prosecutor at the time, Viktor Shokin. Now, this is something that, of course, the former vice president, now president of the United States, has bragged about. He's actually talked about how he did it. He said, look, you're not going to get the money unless you fire the prosecutor. The prosecutor was investigating Burisma, and guess who was on the board of Burisma? Hunter Biden. Pretty amazing, huh? And Biden said, look, we're not going to give you the money until you fire the prosecutor. And they said, no, you can't do that. He said, yeah, I can. He said, I'm leaving if you don't fire the guy, and you're not getting the money. And as he has famously said,
oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
They got fired. Despite the recommendation, Biden, who was then leading U.S. policy toward Ukraine, insisted on Shokin's ouster before offering Ukraine the loan guarantee. At the time, diplomats from the West had raised doubts about Shokin. The Ukrainian prosecutor was widely seen as corrupt. Shokin was also a threat to the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, which had recently added Biden's son Hunter to its board. He was a threat. He ended up seizing assets of Burisma owner Nikolai Zlovsevsky, a house, some cars, a couple of properties, and Nikolai actually never went back to Ukraine after Shokin seized all his assets. Other memos show that some Obama administration officials had sought to work with Shokin, inviting his team for a strategy session and telling him they were impressed with his work. Another memo also showed that Hunter's position on the board of Burisma was a point of contention within the administration that one official said directly undercut the United States anti-corruption mission. This according to Just the News. Shokin was believed to be corrupt and had been at the center of many complaints from foreign diplomats. Biden pushed then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko to oust Shokin, and he did so. The Ukrainian parliament voted to oust the controversial prosecutor in March of 2016. And as we have just heard, Biden bragged about this in 2018 at an event hosted by the Council on Foreign Relations, which is, of course, a think tank. Biden has problems in this 2020 election. You know, African-American voters have long voted almost lockstep in favor of Democrat candidates. Trump made real inroads to the African-American community when he was president. It mostly had to do with his policies, which saw minority unemployment drop dramatically during his time in office. Now comes this story from themessenger.com. Black voters saved Biden in 2020. Democrats now see a red flag in slipping support. Democrats aren't panicking, believing that Biden will receive significant black support once the election is a choice between the president and the Republican nominee. But I think they better be careful here, because there is a lot of surveys out there which suggest that especially male black voters remember that they had it pretty good under Trump, that they had a job, and now, you know, times are hard. A Quinnipiac poll, I can never say that name, Q poll, released this last week, found Biden receiving 73% support from black voters compared to 20% for Trump. A poll conducted for Fox News release showed 61% of voters and black voters favoring Biden, but about 20%. So, I mean, if you get 16, 20, maybe you can even get up to 22, 23, 24%. That would really be something that could hurt Joe Biden in a big way. Biden's 76 percentage point margin, though ostensibly large, was still low for a Democrat nominee by recent standards. And for a party that needs outsized support and turnout from black voters, it kept the 2020 Electoral College results very close. Biden edged Trump as well in most of the polls cited above, but he has relatively strong white supporter vote for a Democrat. So there you go. That's something to think about. Another version of it is that here's another story about Biden and the problems that he faced. It has to do with Bidenomics. Time is the most precious resource in politics. It's a balancing act, as too much time can give one's enemies opportunities, while squandering it could end up with a political hopeful or an incumbent suffering defeat on Election Day. With Joe Biden, he was confident for some reason that Donald Trump would be the more beatable GOP candidate in 2024, given his political baggage, but that hasn't turned out to be true. Biden failed to realize that voters aren't very high on him at all. Bidenomics isn't selling because the rate of inflation remains high. I mean, one wonders what's going on with Biden in this regard. He keeps saying, Bidenomics, it's starting to happen. Nobody who is in their right mind, who's out here in America, is in sync with that idea. Inflation's still a problem. High interest rates such a problem. And while, you know, unemployment is relatively low, employment relatively high, he's still got some serious problems as people are having a hard time making ends meet. It doesn't seem to be getting much better. And so, the people who are walking away from Biden as a result of this are non-white male voters, a key voting bloc for Democrats. They're souring on Joe Biden. These gentlemen aren't flocking to the GOP, but they could stay home if things continue to deteriorate. There's also an overall frustration that both parties are woefully inadequate in helping the American people. The sentiment allowed Trump to pull off one of the biggest political upsets in American history, and there's troubling signs, many think, for Joe Biden as non-white males remember how good they had it under President Trump, and they compare and contrast that with how bad they have it right now. All right, let's see, where are we on the Trump thing? He's still in the jail. Going to be about another, I would imagine, 10 minutes before we see him, so I don't know that we will see him while we're still on the air. But this whole process, I think the story tomorrow, plastered across a lot of different morning shows, and is going to be the Trump photo opportunity, the photo, what do you call it, the mugshot, which will be turned over to reporters shortly after it happens. And that's going to be on the front page of a lot of websites, and the morning newscasts are going to have all that. But again, all that will serve to do, I think, is drive people toward him. If past his prologue, and every time we've seen this happen, it angers Republican voters so much that they are absolutely more adamant than they were before that they are going to vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump leading every other candidate, all the other 8 people that are on that stage, nobody comes close. The nearest competitor is DeSantis, and his numbers, by the way, are starting to get soft. And Trump leads DeSantis by 30, 40 points, depending on which poll that you look at. So don't expect it's going to have any real change in the way the numbers shape up. And I don't think it's going to hurt him with Republicans. It's just one more attempt by the Democrats to use the weaponization of government to go after the former president, who they see as their biggest threat politically. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's talk about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Here's the number, 615-246-5009. Again, that number, 615-246-5009. Just call it, set an appointment, get started if you're in pain. Why are you in pain? Because the folks at the Wellness Institute of Nashville can do a lot of things to make you better. You may have heard of non-surgical spinal decompression. It's a really wonderful technology, a therapy that can help you if you have leg, arm, back, neck pain. Maybe you have a tingling in your extremities. These things can be made better through this therapy in many, many cases. Find out if it'll work for you. 615-246-5009. Now, they got something else known as a KT machine, sort of like spinal decompression, but it's really for your knee. The idea here is to elongate the knee and joint and allow the meniscus and the cartilage to heal without the need for surgery or painkillers. And if you are a new patient, you should take advantage of the 2023 special. Your exam, your consultation, your x-rays included if needed. Bring in an MRI and go over them with the doc. He will give you a therapy plan and get you started, and that's $23 if you're a new patient. 615-246-5009. Find out about all the things they can do for you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville by going to their website, painisbad.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. We know that diversification is an important part of the investing process, but how do you reduce risk of a portfolio through diversification? Well, you use correlations. Now think of bathing suit sales and suntan oil sales. They tend to move together, right? Think of bathing suit sales versus winter coat sales. More dissimilar movement, and that's the idea. But why is diversification so important? Well, think about it this way. Everybody would like to have this happen with their investments. They just go straight up. But what we know is this is really what tends to happen. Markets may go way up and then down, or down then way up. Now let's say if we isolate parts of that curve right there, and the first curve right there, and the second curve right there. If you're putting money away for retirement, every time you put money in, if this is what's going on, you're buying more shares. Then just before you retire, the market goes up, you're really happy. If, on the other hand, you keep paying a higher and higher price and then the market goes down, you're really sad. And we can't choose what's going to happen with the market next. But what we can do is what we know through academic research, and there are Nobel Prizes awarded for this, is we can look for things that tend to move in dissimilar fashion. And what happens when we do that, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio, hence bringing those curves in. Now, that's the idea. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.